This video is brought to you by Squarespace.
Now remember, brother, stealth is of the utmost importance. I want complete silence moving forwards.
Understood.
What did I just say?
Sorry, I've just sold some of my custom merch online through Squarespace. It's super easy. I simply started with one of their flexible website designs. I could customize the look and add features for my unique need. I then easily designed some custom merch to create a passive income stream so I can earn money whilst doing something else. Squarespace takes care of the production and shipping. I can earn extra credits whilst I'm here, earning the Emperor's favour.
I didn't ask. Would you just be quiet?
Well, you're gonna miss out on the best bit. I can sell my merch from my own online store right within Squarespace. They have the tools you need to start selling online, if it's physical or digital. I just sold another one.
You are most frustrating.
I love Squarespace. Check out squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/thepaintingphase to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.
Hi, I'm Peachy.
Hello, I'm Patrick.
And today we are joined by the man, the myth, the legend, Miniwargaming's Dave. Dave Nordquist.
That is correct.
Yes. Got it right. I'm so proud.
So happy to be here. Thank you.
Been rehearsing it all weekend.
All week.
Thank you for coming along and joining us. It's an honour and a privilege to have you on. We are very aware that you are a busy man. You've got a lot to squeeze in a short space of time.
I'm exactly where I want to be at every moment.
That is true. Are you like a wizard?
You give me way too much credit.
Not at all.
I'm happy to be here.
Good. So you've been on the scene for some years. I mean, I remember, if no one's aware of this, Dave came to Warhammer TV when I was there and pretended to be Duncan for a time. That was an interesting...
Pretend.
You were Duncan.
It was very real to me. Well, yeah, that's right.
There was a weird edit where Duncan's tied up in a closet somewhere saying two thin coats. I remember that. Two thin coats. I'm sure he's still got nightmares of that as well, which is quite funny. And I think recently, I say recently, it's probably a year old now, your video, which is, because you've got a lot of chaos, which we'll come to in a minute, 144k of chaos. In that video, there's a bit where it's got you coming into a workshop and pretending to be Duncan and him tied up or like shivering. That still makes me laugh to this day. How was that just coming down to Warhammer World and just being part of that? How did that feel weird, or was it just quite a liberating experience?
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, just as a fan and seeing it, because from my perspective on the other side of the pond, it's just like, oh, look at that bucket list. And yeah. So it's great to just kind of feel a part of it and to integrate and, be just rub shoulders with.
Yeah. Well, we got to high five in the canteen because I was like, hey, Duncan.
That's right.
Double take, and then that was it. That was me gone.
A fleeting cameo.
Yeah. Then we played some games in the evening, which neither of us can remember who played who, but there was definitely you and Matt were there.
Yes.
Some Necromunda happened, and I can't remember who I played because it was so long ago now.
Same.
But it was good.
Fun was had.
I am overawed constantly by your Warhammer Vault. Is it called? The big bunker you've got. It's an amazing premises.
Bunker.
Where do you just call it the bunker?
The bunker.
Yeah.
Miniwargaming bunker.
Miniwargaming bunker.
Yeah.
How did that all come about?
Ooh, the origin for the bunker story.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. All right. We're diving right in.
We're diving right in.
Yes.
I don't do foreplay.
Right in. Get the job done.
In and out before the echo fades, as Mrs. Peach often says.
The echo fade. I love it so much.
I'm the SAS of the bedroom.
I feel so at home here. I love it so much.
Sorry, Pat. I've killed Pat.
Yeah. So okay. Let's see. Geez, where do we start here? Well, I guess in a general sense, we've had many guests come and from various places to participate in videos because we're making battle reports.
Yeah.
And they'd stay in nearby hotels.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So we had kind of commandeered the old portion of a city hall in the city that we were in, and it was run down everywhere. So just like kind of there's an illusion of that things look a certain way according to the camera, but when you kind of in real life, it's
like this room.
But this is again, this is like, it's wonderful. Like, look at all this, the lighting and everything. But in real life, it's just like, in a practical sense, hey, you guys are staying in a nearby hotel. How would you feel about staying at an Airbnb that was close by, that was themed like the studios, that helped with the experience of coming here and playing games, right? And it was like, yeah, that's a cool idea, right? I'm like, all right. So that was feedback. And then it was like, okay, wait, what if we made a deal with an Airbnb to do that? That'd be awesome, right? And then the idea kind of evolved into, what if we just own the Airbnb, find a way to make that work somehow?
Yeah.
Right? Work towards that maybe, And then it was like, well, why do it on Airbnb that was separate? Why not find a premises that was attached to the studios to make it more efficient for guests? Right?
Yeah.
You can sleep on premises.
Yeah.
And so it was a few years of just kind of pie in the sky idea, right? And, of course, Matt, business partner, Matthew Glanfield, we run everything by each other, discuss things like that. Matt's he's the exact opposite of me, right? So the yin and yang, like there's a reason why I'm here and he's at home in 3D printing and like in his heaven doing that. Right? He's and I love this.
I've seen Matt and we've engaged. I'd see that.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good dynamic to have.
Yeah. It's a perfect in my feeling. It's I'm so grateful to have Matt.
Yeah.
That we wouldn't have anything without him there. Like it'd be pure chaos all the time,
Which is only right.
It's only right. That's the proper way to live. But okay, so it's the idea, and he was like, "Oh, this is it's one of Dave's crazy ideas again." That's kind of how he chalked it up to, right? So I said it to enough people, and then I said this idea to a friend. He's become a friend now, Hunter White.
Hunter White. Is that his first name, Hunter?
Hunter White.
What a name.
Hunter.
That's an American name if ever I heard one.
Yes.
From the continent.
A bit of context for Hunter now. Okay, and we're this is like the minutia of he visited as a guest, like many others have, and he participated in a battle report in a video, and he was kind enough to come to a local cinema where I was screening a short film that I had worked on. Right?
Is this the Lord of the Rings one?
Yeah, definitely the Lord of the Rings inspired.
You look great.
You're very kind with your words.
Very Dunedain-esque, I'd say.
The LARPing essentially is what it was, right? A pure passion project.
Yeah,
I had no clue what I was doing. Or really ever in a general sense, but especially on this, right?
Yeah.
Filmmaker proper, like what's that even mean, right?
Yeah.
But it was just a fun project that I did. And so I screened it at local cinema. There was a bunch of people involved. And so we just kind of enjoyed this together. And he came and watched it too, right? Him and his wife. And next day at the studio, he's like, "Dave, if you're ever working on a project, just let me know, right? I'd love to be a part of it somehow." And that's really cool. And so when it came time to the bunker, right, I told him about it. And he's like, "When are we going to do this?" I'm like, "What does that mean? When are we going to do this?" Right? And so, he's successful business and he's in insurance. And so he had some investment capital to kind of put into a project that he could believe in.
Yeah.
Right. And it was, he's a gamer through and through. That's his childhood.
So he really saw the potential of it.
He saw the potential of it. Right. And, he tuned into videos, wargaming videos, mini wargaming videos. And so he was like, yeah. And we were at Origins, convention Origins. And I think that's Columbus.
Oh, wow.
Ohio, I think it is.
Yeah.
And we were there because we were screening that same short film, right, which he became a producer of, right?
Ah, cool.
And we were in a hotel room. We shared a hotel room. We were looking at properties, right? I told him the idea. I was like, when are we going to do this?
Familiar.
I was looking at properties and like, this one's good and this one. And so we actually found the building that we're now in. And then it just kind of snowballed into this. Originally, it was going to be overnight stay rooms and studios, but then we found this building, which was 11,000 square feet of. Now, for context, Welland, Ontario, Canada is not one of these prestigious places. Like, and I'm saying this, I probably shouldn't. No, I'm going to say it. I live there. I'm allowed to trash the place I live, right?
Yeah.
Yes. You know what I mean? Like, to me, it's home.
Yeah.
It's home, but it's not special because it's home, right? but it's special because it's home.
Yeah,
if that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So,
Completely agree.
yeah. And so real estate was reasonably priced. And so there was a purchase of a building, and then there was a storefront attached to that. So that wasn't part of the original idea.
Yeah.
Right. There was this room in the back. So that's now a tournament hall area space.
Fantastic.
Offices as well. And then like the overnight stay rooms. And so there was just like, wow, okay, let's utilize the space to suit our needs and make it flexible and see where we go from there. It was a 2-year project, over 100 people involved. And okay, so back to Matt, right? Because we discuss everything as business partners should to make it healthy, right? And sometimes it doesn't happen that way, and then there's conflicts, and then there's eternal war, and obviously, but
That's how the Horus Heresy happened.
But in this case, like we've been working together for years, and I grew up with Matt. I've known him since I was 5.
Yeah.
Right. So we're best friends since we were kids, right? And I said to him, okay, this is the project. And normally when I when I have ideas and projects and I say them to Matt, right? Yeah. And especially at this time years ago, it's just like, you know what? Whatever you need to do to get out that creative, whatever that is, like, cool, I'll hold down the fort and then you can come back and help with content and whatever, right? So he's kind of used to this behavior, right? And this is one of those scenarios where, because he had experienced that enough, he kind of chalked it up to another one of those just Dave projects where it's just like, okay, just get this out of your system and whatever that means, and then we can go back to normal, right?
Yeah.
And I said to him, like, no, what do you care about? Well, and then having say and stuff, like, what do you want? And he's like, as long as I can control the temperature in the rooms. Yeah, that's really, and obviously it's more than that. It's like, it's HVAC, it's all that.
So I like to think he's in a little room of his own. He's just got all these terminals, and he's just there for I should make it really hot in there for you.
Yeah,
that's pure heaven for him.
Yeah, they're in the Korne room, lava mode. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's very, certainly very pragmatic, and he's, I will say the things about him that he would never say about himself. He is a genius. Like, he's very intelligent. He plays the piano like a savant. No one knows this. It's not public. Like he does, right? He can sight read stuff without having played it before.
Oh my days!
Yeah,
that's impressive.
And when he was younger, he went on a service mission, and he learned 2 languages, French and Tahitian, right? And
as you do,
and he's a programmer. He went to university for this, and then he implemented that into marketing online, teaching people how to make money online before we started Miniwargaming together, right? Okay. So it's a very bright, intelligent person, right? The exact opposite than I am, right? So it's like I don't know. I don't even try to label what I want to be or am. Right?
Yeah,
so,
I think we're in the same vein. I'm very scatterbrained, but full of ideas.
Yes, constant flow, right? Yeah.
I'm there with notepads everywhere.
Right? Is this a representation of the mind of Peach?
Peach and Pat, I think it's.
Peach and Pat.
Yeah, definitely. Pat is definitely more grounded when it comes to business, and I'm a lot more like, I've got this idea. And he's like, see how the algorithm works with that.
I feel like I've had to kind of learn that, though.
Yeah.
Like, because I feel like I'm more of a creative person, but I'm I'm best suited in our like scenario to push my efforts elsewhere.
Yeah, when I manage people, I go into that non-creative mode, and that's everything has an order, and I can't do both at the same time. I'm either fully creative and mad, or super rigid and thinky.
Yeah,
thinky. I like that.
And right now I'm a bit thinky, but mainly like, I've got this idea, I want to do that.
Yeah.
So it's good to have someone that's skilled in that, and then someone like yourself that's just full of like notions of ideas of different things that could work. And by the looks of it, it's worked really well. Because
it's happened to, I guess. Certainly it's working. It's working.
Yeah.
Whatever this.
It's a genius idea.
Is. It's
so a gaming area and a hotel, pretty much.
Yeah. Now, hotel is, I would say, is a definite stretch. As much as it's zoned for that, it's not a proper, like, it's not an overnight turn. I like to say it is, you got a place you can sleep if you stay over at the bunker.
Yeah.
It is themed.
Yes, which is great.
Yeah, there is a turnover service that comes when you're done and stuff like that. But
oh wow,
I like to think as well that just during the night you should just have klaxons and just go, we're being boarded, repel borders. Chaos have breached the lower decks. You just see his army on the floor.
Yeah. And so I said, okay, so he's like, yeah, as long as I control the temperature of the rooms, because like the previous studio, like the landlord, which is like was not fixing the air conditioning. In where we live, we have all 4 seasons temperature, so it's hot and muggy in the summertime. So and trying to film in those conditions that are horrible, right? Yeah. And so like that was very important to him, right? Which rightfully so, right? That's not something I think about. I just think about colors, brightness everywhere. What can we do? Let's put a demon prints right there. And like, so that's my mind. And he's like, let's control the temperature. What are the numbers? What's the parameters of this? So, and so I asked him like, so you don't care what I do with the aesthetics? And he's like, that's your stuff. Like, I don't really need to do that. Yeah. So whatever you want to do there is fine, because it'd be much different than what I would choose for it anyway. Right. I'm like, okay, are you sure? Like, yeah, that's fine. So it's okay. So it's everything's themed top to bottom, even the hallways.
Yes.
Yeah. It's there's 10,000 rivets in there.
There's a lot. I mean, when I was like looking at the army that you've done, and you show it's just like such a huge, expansive space, and I assume that's just like one of the rooms where you do the tournaments and stuff. And it's just so nicely done. I'm like, Warhammer could learn a lot from that as well, because it is heavily themed. It gives me that vibes of like when you go to places. Like theme parks and stuff, they do go with the theme and they like heavily hit it. And you know, One World to a certain degree has that in the hall, but everywhere else it could do with it a bit more. Yeah, like if you're walking upstairs to the museum, and each museum section should feel a bit more. This is the Age of Sigma room. Yes, it feels like it needs a bit more of that. So it's nice to see that thematic attention to detail that makes you not only think that I'm playing a war game, but I'm in a place that feels like I'm playing a war game for 40k. This is great. So I like that, and I like how the bunker and the Airbnb continues that as well with like the bunk beds and stuff. And it's great.
It's funny you should mention Warhammer World, because the first time I've gone twice. Yeah. And so the second time I went is when we did stuff online and live streaming. The first time I went to the exhibition, and at the time pictures weren't allowed to be posted online.
Oh really?
Right.
Oh.
So back then it's like you can go, just don't take pictures. Yeah. And so
I did not know that.
They can't be posted online. Yeah. Right. So we could do pictures for personal things or whatever. Yeah. So what I did is I took a picture of one of the amazing dioramas. Yeah. Right. And so it was like this massive door. I don't even know what the terrain piece is from. It might have been like a kit bash, but I took a picture of it. I said, okay, I'm not going to post it, but what I'll do is I'll throw that into the design of the tournament hall room, and at the very back is like the door.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's my version of not taking a picture of it, right?
I love it.
Yeah. So very much inspired by that, though.
Yeah. I mean, just immortalized in your own bunker instead. That's great.
Technically didn't post a picture of it, but in a very real sense, I mean, Games Workshop, I will be a fanboy.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know, like it's because I am. Like I think, eat, breathe, everything Korne, right? Like it will be that. It's in the blood all the time, and that's fine. Their success is our success. Yeah. The more successful they are in a good way, is like, okay, great. Yeah. Fun in the hobby. That's what everyone wants. Yeah. Right?
No, agreed. Yeah. I mean, it's been my life for, well, I've been on the planet for 43 years, and it's been my life for about 38. So, so a long time.
Yeah. It's ingrained.
So regardless of, experience I've had like with one department or one manager, that's not going to tarnish those 38 years worth of like joy, fun, or the armies that I've painted, or the models that I've like poured over in books and stuff like that. So no, totally. You're right. Their success is our success. So if they're doing well, we're doing well. Yeah. If they don't do so well, then that will have an impact on who's watching and the views and stuff. So yeah, absolutely, it's important.
Yeah, and in my observation, it's people, like, and so like this is a prime example of that. Like when I went there the second time and I met you, and met Duncan, and I met more crew. It's like this is pockets of people. Yeah, yeah, and it's this mechanism that is perceived to be the corporate versus the hobbyist, right? I think it's a bit it's like an illusory. It's a bit of an illusion, because it's like, what does that even mean? Yeah, right. It's like, oh, GW did this to me and they did that to me, and is it really? That doesn't even make sense. Like, what is that? Yeah, yeah. Right?
Makes it sound like it's a being that's done that to you, whereas it's like a message, or it's just a decision by one person at one time, and then we all take the flak for it because we're all forming to that uber robot, which is Games Workshop.
Right.
But actually, it's lots of people with lots of personal ideas,
Yeah.
personal lives.
Yeah.
They're all there for the hobby,
Right.
for the most part.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember many times we'd get like, the studio would get a lot of hate, and they'd direct it at Games Workshop as a whole. And it's like, it's not really Games Workshop as a whole. It's, Games Workshop is not the bad guy. It's one decision is, we're all humans. We all make decisions and we don't always get them right. But don't blame me, or don't blame that guy, or don't blame that guy, because it was weird. It was almost pitched like anyone that works for Games Workshop's evil.
That's right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how is that?
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
can that possibly be accurate in any situation,
Yeah.
anywhere?
You're a fascist state. It's like, no, we're just playing goblins.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's really what it is. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny because, like, a good example of this is around a decade ago, maybe even longer now, is because we used to have a store.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Trade store. Yeah.
Yeah.
Online stuff. It was doing quite well, wasn't it? It was quite a big.
It was. Yeah, it was carrying us, right?
Yeah.
We were growing with each year that would pass, right? Because we're in our 16th year. There's 2 corns, basically, right? So I count in corns. It's an 8.
Counting
right?
corns.
What a special year.
Right? So it's like the second corn, right? Yeah. So, but that was, we started with the online store. We needed a brick and mortar location in order to do that properly, right? And just from grassroots, it's a good 3 years before we started to really make anything from it. Oh, here's £100 a month.
Yeah.
Right, you know what I mean?
I love how you said quid as well. Thanks
You like
for
that? Yeah. Well, I've been immersed here a little bit. It's a little bit of rubbing off. Do you have any hobnobs?
We do. They're in my bag. I'll get them in a bit.
But yeah, so it was fun because we had a gaming club, we had a store, online store at the same time as well. And Matt, being an internet marketer, he's like, all right, we'll just program all this in, implement it in, and Dave, what do you want to do? Well, I was a landscaper, so maybe I can make terrain tutorials and just have fun with videos because I love acting class in high school, and then I love movies. And so, and at the time he was like, well, I do have this business online, so it's best if you're in the videos because we're playing games online. So, I don't want people to see that and maybe not take the learning how to make money online seriously because I'm playing games. That's from his perspective.
Yeah.
Right. I'm like, okay, so I'll just be in a bunch of fun videos. And it was about 10 months later. There was way too much fun. He's like, okay, fine, I'll be in the videos. Yeah. There's even a video where it's revealing Matt. It's like, yeah, he's the one who's been behind the camera the whole time, right?
Yeah.
But they did change going back to GW.
Yeah.
They changed their policy, right? So their policy change was because at the time we could sell anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Right. And we could sell online, and we could have images of products and things like that. So the policy change was you can't sell online outside of your country, and you can't really sell online, period. And if you do, it's mail order. So just have a phone number, people can call the website and they can order that way. So it's basically slice one knee, slice the other.
Yeah.
Now, from our perspective, that was a decision that was made from up top that adversely affected us from the bottom, right?
Yeah.
So was it a personalized attack? I'm like, yes, they're targeting us specifically, right? Like, obviously, obviously it's us they're attacking, right?
It's like, who do we want to get rid of? Those guys.
Yeah.
They're so successful at spreading the hobby. Damn them.
I mean, the tinfoil hat going on, would that have potentially been done because they were selling worldwide from their own website and wanted to sort of I don't know.
It's
Maximize
interesting.
it. Yeah.
It's interesting because any sort of reason that we could possibly come up with, it's just ultimately it's going to be conjecture.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So for us to think that we are so unique snowflakes that it was our fault and then they made a decision, like, that's ridiculous. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they made a change.
Yeah.
It affected us
Quite bigly, I imagine.
and it was honestly, we're like, well, I guess it was a good run.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now at the same time, we had launched the Miniwargaming Vault, which was our paid subscription. This is before Patreon.
Yes.
This is before YouTube
Yeah,
members,
yeah.
right? This is heck, when we started, like, Netflix was like barely a thing. YouTube was brand new when we started, right? It was like advertisers weren't even really advertising on YouTube because they treated it like TikTok a few years ago. It's like just a bunch of kids dancing and goofing off. Like, advertisers didn't spend their money on it, right? So we just so it was like, okay, well, I guess this is it. So we started the Vault, and we did make a video saying what the changes were made, that we have to do this. We got to shut down the store, but we do have the Vault. So if you want to see, if you like the videos and you want to continue seeing more, then consider being a Vault member and supporting us, and we'll continue to make videos because we like doing that.
Yeah.
And so that was great. because the community rallied.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at the time, the vault doubled in memberships.
Mad. Yeah.
And so it was like, oh, wow, community is amazing.
Yeah.
And so it actually, this perceived bad thing became the thing that made us what we are now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? So thank you, GW, for making the change.
Yeah.
Right? Because we were tethered, because every video that we'd make, it would directly impact the sales of our store.
Yeah.
You know, I got into Blood Angels, and we're selling more Blood Angels in the store.
Oh, okay.
Chaos.
Yeah.
Chaos. Matt selling, playing Tyranids, selling more Tyranids, right? And then it kind of untethered us, detethered us. We were no longer attached.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
You were set free.
Set free. We could, there was a certain journalistic integrity at that point where we can just make content about whatever.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And it wasn't for the purpose of, well, we got to be successful on the store, so we better make content about that. It was just make about whatever we want to make it about.
Yeah.
Which was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where we could really explore
Yeah.
creatively
Yeah.
where we wanted to go.
We're kind of like in that vein right now, aren't we? Whereas when I was at Workshop doing videos, it was very promotional based. Because you obviously want to promote the product, that's what they need.
Yeah.
So everything you're painting pretty much was a new release that was coming out, and as cool as that was, I enjoyed it. Just going, I just want to paint a Ventrilian Noble, Pat. Is that okay? Like, cool, we'll make a video. Can I paint a Stormtrooper? Cool, we'll make a video.
Yeah.
So we can find a way. Sometimes we like angle things that we know will do quite well. So with Shatterpoint coming out, or the Cadian Army that was coming out, I wanted to do them anyway. So it kind of like tied in nicely. So that there are sometimes like we do videos that are catered to a release, but we don't have to. We're not tethered to do that.
Right.
And we usually find a way that makes it enjoyable for us anyway. So
Yeah.
I love that, because that's desire-driven content, which audience is sophisticated. They know feelings. We know where we know what we tune into. There's a feeling behind the video.
Yeah.
And so if there is a feeling of, oh man, I got to get this done, and there was a deadline, and here's it out on time, like, people aren't stupid. They know that. They can feel it. They can see it.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas like, look at Angron. Oh, I wonder. There's a completely different feeling behind that.
Yeah.
Right? And that's, I think that's really the key, is just make content you want to make.
Yeah.
And that, and like all the numbers, the success, and whatever, the algorithm, like that'll follow.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes it's not always the actual model. I mean, with Angron, it could have been Mortarion. It could have been, I know you're a Korne guy. I don't want to say Mortarion.
Yeah, all chaos is permitted.
That's fine. That's fine. But because he was new and he was shiny, I was just like, can we do a Primark in 6 hours?
Yeah.
Can we do it? Dry brush in, wash in, some highlights at the end of it.
Was it 8 hours in the end?
No, I wish it was. With the Imperial Guard Army, it was aimed at 12 hours. Like, can we do it in like half a day kind of thing? And then it just took me a bit longer, which was 15, which there's a book called 15 Hours, which is the life expectancy of a guardsman. And
Is it?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Which was like, that tied in nicely. So it would have been great if it was 8 hours, but people would just see me constantly failing my own deadlines. Which doesn't look great.
Yeah. But that's it right there. That's the transparency, right?
Yeah.
It's like, you're human, and you have flaws, and you make mistakes constantly. Everyone does.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what I love about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I got to be honest, like in early stages, there's this fear of, well, we can't make mistakes.
Yeah.
We can't show any sort of mistakes. We got to be professional. We got to show all this stuff, and it needs to be perfect, and it has to present a certain way. People are paying for a service, a product, whatever it is, right? But when the content creation end of it came into it, it's like there's so many different ways to dial what you want to do. Like you can literally make content out of making painting mistakes.
Yeah.
And that is your brand.
Yeah.
Paint mistaker.
Yeah.
Right? This is what you don't want to do.
Yeah.
Or do want to do. Yeah, no right or wrong way.
Yeah. I mean, from doing the videos, we used to get a lot of comments on Facebook saying, it's really good seeing these videos, they're really helpful, but there's no way of showing us when we make mistakes how to correct them. And that was one of the things we wanted to focus on, was not only painting things fast to help people that don't have a lot of time. So if you've hardly got any time in the evenings because you've got children, you're at school, uni, full-time employment, that was the angle of what we do anyway. But then showing that, oh, look, I'm painting a Stormtrooper, I've got black all over the white. Now we're just going to tidy back up because I'm not being super neat at this point, because I know I'm going to tidy up, and showing that is more helpful because people see how you deal with that situation when you make it. And to me, it's normal because I'm doing it all the time because I'm quite messy. I don't panic. It's like, you don't have to panic about it. If you get black on the white, it's fine.
Yeah.
Because what we do is we get the white after, tidy up.
Just tidy up.
It's gone.
It's gone. Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely think angling videos to show those things actually is more beneficial to a lot of people.
I think it makes it very relatable because it's really painters that don't make errors. Let's call it that, right? Go paint where they don't want it to. Essentially, it's like I think that's very rare.
Yeah, and also if you don't do errors, you're probably a really high-end painter, and my videos are going to be of no use to you anyway. So there's no point watching. I don't know what you're going to get from it unless you want to paint armies fast, maybe. But absolutely. So aiming things at the right audience is good, and I think showing mistakes is that human side of it, right?
Yeah,
it's really relatable.
It's relatable. Yeah, it's key, and I think it also represents the majority of the audience. Really.
Yeah.
A vast majority, like 99%. Like vast majority.
I see. I'm always conservative. I'm like, how much is it? Is it 99? Is it like 95? Yeah, exactly.
And even the pro painters, or I'll say pro, and actually legitimately, they are pro. They're just full time. They have courses. They're very good at what they do. Are there errors? Of course there are errors.
Yeah.
Of course there are.
That's what the prep time's for.
That's what the prep time is for. That's what the editing is for, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, me and Duncan, when we used to do Warmer TV, we'd always have like a few days prep, and then we always found we would do our prep and we'd be really pleased with it. Then we do the filming and it comes out even worse. And we're like, why is the prep one always better? And I think sometimes it's the pressure of the camera and getting your angles. And sometimes you have to position your arms in such a way that's not 100% comfortable.
Right.
Because
camera angle.
Because I normally paint it here, and again, a camera.
Yeah, without your face in the way.
Without the face in it. And just so you can get all the lights exposed on it as well, so you can see all the details. It's just impossible.
So it's more like that, right?
Yeah.
Just like...
Well, when I was in Warmer TV, because Roger didn't want to change the setup, I had to paint right-handed. Well, in a right-handed setup, I was like that, so my ear didn't get shot, which was like 2 years of that was just pain.
Was it 2 years?
It's 2 years.
Are
Yeah.
you southpaw?
Sorry?
Are you left-handed?
I am left-handed, yeah. So they had a setup for Duncan, and which was the camera was there, would always look there. There was this beauty lamp, which I'd ride in summertime, get hay fever. My eyes are streaming, so the beauty lamp did not help. So I'm like constantly like, oh my God, I can't see. And then I'm like, I can't see. And then I've got to paint like this, and this is really hard. So yeah, so some of my early painting on screen was chod. I'll admit it. Yes, it was chod. That's why dry brushing was very prevalent, and so was washing.
Yeah,
easy.
So going back to our previous conversation, Games Workshop clearly had it out for you.
They want to get rid of me, and it took them 5 years.
Yeah, you stuck it out in a right-handed setup for 2 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
it's good though. I mean, So I saw your journey through that video with the 144k Chaos Army. There was a few things I wasn't aware of, which was that situation about the trade shop and having to close it down because of the rules. But never keep a good guy down, right? So you guys just, as opposed to just quitting, and that whole thing about the community. I mean, we got hacked before Christmas, and it was a bit stressy.
Yeah.
I was ill, which didn't help as well, because I found out I was in bed and saw a message from Pat. I was like, oh, I don't give a shit. I put it over there. But I was like, no, I do. And we were like, how do we get it back? And there was no way to contact YouTube. There was no way to contact, you were trying to contact Google and stuff.
Yeah.
But the community rallied. And I think that's the key thing, is like, I didn't realise the value because working at Workshop, you're in a bubble.
Yep.
The community is often turned off because you don't see the comments, you don't see that kind of stuff. So you don't, except like when you go to events, which unfortunately a lot of the staff don't get to attend, and they don't get to engage with the community, which I don't agree with. I think they should have that sort of personal touch to remind them why they're there, and also to give them that confidence that what they're doing is great, because most people that attend these events just want to like flower your compliments and just say your stuff's amazing. And as a creative, you need that sometimes. It's not about like having your ego stroked. It's about like reminding you why you do it.
Yeah, it's just acknowledgement.
Yeah,
validation, acknowledgement. Yeah,
and
basic human needs.
It is, and it's people might see sometimes like, oh, that's just because you got a big ego. It's not. Anyone wants to be validated. Everyone wants to, go through life like their mum telling them you've done a good job. Well done.
Yeah, it's like, hey, look at what I painted here. Like, you know what? Excellent.
Yeah,
that's great.
For a 6-hour job, I'm really pleased with it.
Yeah.
Would I put that into a Golden Demon? No.
I would. I would totally put that. That'd be way better than what I could do.
But yeah, having that community cut off from the staff makes you feel isolated. So when I left, I was just like, join Pat. And I was like, I hope when we put that first video out, I get at least one sub or one like or one thumbs up on YouTube. Because, you know, again, you were saying before we started, the imposter syndrome is strong in me as well. I feel like it's the force is strong in me, but it's the imposter syndrome force.
You're a good company.
But it's mad, isn't it? It's like we've been doing our craft for years, and I would arguably say I'm an expert at what I do, and what I do is painting fast armies, finding shortcuts to get things done efficiently.
And you know, it's so funny because you just said arguably. That is you're hedging a fact.
Yeah.
Right. So it's I mean, you know what? Okay, I'll say what you won't say about yourself.
Okay.
Right? Because there's the language of humility.
Yeah.
Right. And then there's like feelings, and then there's fact.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, from my perspective, you're a fantastic painter because you have like copious amounts of hours honing in on the skills of all that.
Yeah.
Really. So as a professional, it's factually true.
Yes.
And then it's you're making content out of that. So there's a creative aspect of that, and it needs to be packaged in a way that people can consume it. And then there's the personality on top of that, right? Which is like, is that a skill? That's just, you can't help that.
Yeah.
Right? So it becomes things that are, you can engage with it, you can enjoy it, you can be a part of it, you can learn from it. There's so many things from that. So...
But all I ever see is the flaws, Dave.
Right? So, and yeah, it's like the self-critical, and you know, you're talking about ego, which that's so interesting because I mean, I think conventions is a very good UK Games Expo.
Yes,
right,
yeah.
is a prime example of that. Right, as creators, anyone really who's in the public eye that's part of a community. There is going to be recognition. There's going to be, I've seen your videos, Peachy. You know, there's going to be that.
Yeah.
Right, especially potently in the crowd that we cater to, and so there is an inflation of ego because we're humans.
Yes.
So when you're told 1,000 times, "I love your videos. They got me through a dark time. Thank you so much for all this stuff," and it's all genuine. It's wonderful and it's needed. It's validation. On steroids.
It is, yeah.
Right. And so it's like, as humans, it happens. Right. So I see ego as not a good or bad thing. I think ego is demonized.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Absolutely. In every single case. Oh, he's got an ego. But I think ego is something, the second you try to get rid of your ego wins.
Yeah.
Because you're acknowledging the ego once again. So it's like,
I suppose it's how you manage it, isn't it?
All right. So if we all have egos, which we all do.
Everyone does.
Everyone does. And I think if we are aware of it, we don't deny it. It's like, I don't have an ego. Like, that's so egotistical to say I don't have an ego.
Yes.
Right. And then to say that
I've met those people.
that I have an ego, it's like you're humble in saying you have an ego, but it's also egotistical to acknowledge the ego. So it's like you can't escape it.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, all right, I universe, checkmate, I accept. Being in this flesh suit, there's going to be an ego, right? But if we speak the language of humility, which you just did, which you do, which I believe is a very healthy one, because the ego is going to be inflated. We don't have to try to do that.
Yeah.
It just happens.
Yeah.
Right? And as long as we build up those around us, then it's like, okay, sometimes it'll be out of check. Because we are human and we're going to say things. We're going to be assholes. We're going to say the things that are stupid. We will.
Yeah.
Right. We'll make those mistakes and hurt people's feelings. It's going to happen and it has happened and will happen again. Right. And then as a default, if we just speak that language, which I love that language because like as a reaction, it's like, wait, no, that's not true. Like, no, this is awesome. Like, so that's the response to that.
Yeah.
Which
and I was like, no, just stop.
Which ironically, it's cyclical because it feeds the ego once again. Right. So it's this feedback loop of how do you escape it? There's no escaping. There's no escaping the chaos. Right. There's no escaping the ego. Okay. Accept. Cool. I'm just gonna not think of it.
Yeah.
And move on to fun. Yeah. Just fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I've always struggled when people compliment me. I always find I find it quite uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how do I react? How am I supposed to react? Am I supposed to say thank you? But does that make me look like really sort of obnoxious?
Yeah.
Or do I like not acknowledge it, but then that makes me also look rude? So it's that kind of like managing that. And I've always struggled with it. And being in the limelight when certainly, and it does, get your heartstrings sometimes when people come up to you and say, you've really helped me through some tough times.
Yeah.
And I'm like, my life is not tough. I dread to think what you've gone through for me to be able to have sort of helped you out. I don't, what have I've done nothing. I've just sat in front of a camera, slapped some paint on a brush, But if that's helped you, cool. But I'm sure there's better people that are a support network for you than me. I don't know how.
I love that. Okay, I love that you're saying this because I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's such a fine line because if I were to say to you, Peachy, I was going through a very dark time and your videos got me through a very dark place. Thank you for that. Right? So it's like to acknowledge it is to inflate your own ego.
Yeah.
To not acknowledge it is to invalidate the compliment.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And so, I know what you mean. How do I take a compliment? How do we do this in a way that is just good?
Yeah.
And so I find that for myself, because I've gone through all the different cycles of like, what do I do?
Yeah.
What do I do? Right? There's too much. I don't inhuman to receive this much positive feedback.
Yes. Yeah.
I think the easiest, this is the most lazy way that I've found, is just mirror. You know what? Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you helped me feed my nurglings. Right? So you feed it right back.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, that's the like, hopefully, the most non-egotistical way of not only acknowledging that and not feeding your own, but actually feeding the ego of the person, right?
Yeah.
So it's like this, okay,
Yeah.
I accept the compliment, thank you.
Yeah. There was a guy, a UK games expert actually, that dropped me a message again. You're one of my hobby heroes. It was really nice to meet you. And I remember him because he was holding his daughter in one hand. He was trying to do a selfie with the other.
Yes.
And his pushchair was full of cake. And I'm like, no, mate, the hero here is you.
Yeah.
To do all those things.
That's right. Yeah.
So I was like, I had time to think about how do I compose this? Because, I've done nothing. I just stood there and went.
Yeah.
And I love that too. It's like in our minds, it's so simple. It's not much that, what are we doing? We're applying pigment to plastic.
Yeah.
Or we're talking about that.
Yeah.
Right. But for so many, and for us as well, because people do that to us as well. It's like, no, it's all about feelings.
Yeah.
You tune in because you decompress. It's therapeutic. It's catharsis. It's whatever it happens to be.
Yeah.
You get giggles. You get laughs. Whatever. It's good. It's a good emotion. It's good energy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ultimately, it just boils down to energy.
Yeah. I mean, I was in a weird position where on the Sunday there's a painter, may or may not be aware of him. It's called Sarastro. Does a lot of Star Wars based stuff, and I was aware of him a few years back because my wife wanted me to. She was like, "Can you paint some Star Wars figures up for my friend Alan because he's retiring and would like to get him a present?" And I wasn't really massively aware of Legion at the time, Star Wars Legion. So I was like, "Oh, I think there's some models." So I got some Stormtroopers and I got a Darth Vader. I painted them and I watched some of his videos to get an idea of, how can I make them? What kind of techniques can I use for them? Because I'm so used to doing like Games Workshop stuff where I can just make up what I want. And I had some ideas on how I'll go about doing the white armor and this and that, but I wanted to use some reference, and he had these videos out. So I was looking at his stuff, and every now and again I'd catch their video coming up and I'd have a bit of a look and stuff. And he was there, and I was like, Sarastro's there. My mate Steve's like, Sarastro's there. Let's go and say hello. So we said hello, and you could see he was just like, this is really nice. People are saying things about me. And as I was leaving, he was just like, how's YouTube going, by the way? It seems that it's going strong. I was like, you know what I do? I was like, how do you know what I do? I'm small fish in comparison to you. And he was just like, I love your videos. I was like, and he was like, can I get a selfie? I was like, I was literally going to ask you for a selfie. This is so weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, I literally then was like, so that's how he must feel when that happens to him. So I understand that now because I'm that person talking to him as the customer that's got that bit of a hero worship going on, fanboy. Yeah. So I now understand what he's feeling, vice versa.
Parasocial.
Yeah. So it was interesting to me on that side to engage with your hero as a painter, talk to them and see their reaction, and then have that same effect on someone else later on in the afternoon. So I was like,
yeah. It's so good though. I love it. It's in my mind. I'm a perpetual imposter.
Yeah.
Yeah. At any, what do I know? I know nothing. And, the safest bet for me to say about myself is I know nothing. The more I learn, the more I learn that I know nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do I actually know? What can I say for certain about anything?
Yes. Yeah.
Don't trust me. Don't listen to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll say stuff and it's going to change a sentence later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm very base level when it comes to any kind of like knowledge. And often I like to think I've got a good grasp of the English army in the Napoleonic Wars. I've got enough books on it. I've read enough books.
Yeah.
But the reality of it is I wasn't there during those wars. I'm just 4 books ahead of you. That's all I am.
Right.
And you could easily get that information, and then you could be one book ahead of me, and then be telling me how that uniform looks and what colour those epaulets would be, and this, that, and the other. So that I think that's the key thing that a lot of people do forget when they're challenging people on the internet. It's just like, I think you'll find this is the wrong colour red oxide for the inside of a tiger tank. And you'll be like, but it's World War II and they had different batches of paint, and then they sometimes thinned it down with oil, and sometimes they didn't even use that paint. Does it really matter the inside colour of a tank? Yes, it does. I think you'll find, because this was during the 1943 campaign of Barbarossa. Someone's going to go, Barbarossa wasn't 1943. I'm just making it up as I'm going along.
I was just thinking to myself, like, wow, you do know all your facts.
But you know, it's that kind of stuff. Like, I remember there was like a whole big thing about like red oxide paint and stuff, and yeah, some guy just challenged going, yeah, he just like a couple of sentences ahead of me in a book, so I'm not going to worry about it. And I think that's the key thing, is like any kind of that kind of stuff is like, yeah, don't worry about it. Just be like me. Just think you don't know nothing.
Yeah,
just getting like you know, just
I think it's a good baseline.
It's safe
to be at, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's like the least amount of pain possible. Like, how can you possibly argue with me when I've already agreed that whatever you're about to say is probably more correct than what I'm going to say?
Yeah.
Like, it's really hard to argue with someone when that's the case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then it's the free flow of communication becomes so much easier.
Yeah.
Because the defenses come down, and it's like, all right, what's your opinion on this? Like, what have you learned about? We are travelers, and we're discovering new things. We're on a journey. What have we discovered? Let's share.
Well, today I'm going to tell you something right now.
Yes.
So for a long time during Warhammer TV and before that, people were like, Peachy is the best dry brush in the business. I'm not. Dave and Mark Jones are the best dry brush in the business. I've just learnt from them. I like dry brush and I use it a lot. And Byron contacted us from Element Games, artist Opus Byron, and he was like, he does a lot of dry brushing. He knows a lot more. He literally makes his dry brushing look like airbrushing. And he was like, do you want to sit down and do some tuition? I'm like, thank God someone who knows what they're doing. I can now pass that mantle off and have no stress anymore, because people seem to think I know what I'm talking about. I don't know what I'm talking about. But it was just really eye-opening, just like his method and how he does things. And a lot of stuff, again, it's like learning to drive a car. If I was taught how to drive a car, and I've passed my test, I know how to drive a car. If I was now to tell someone how to drive a car, I would struggle. I've been riding motorcycles for 20 plus years. Someone said to me, tell me how you go about turning your engine on, getting it all started, how you operate it. I'd be like, just put a key in and it just goes and I ride. It's like, no, that's not how it works. Go on, the whole process, I would struggle, because I'll miss things, because a lot of it's subconscious.
Yep.
And it's the same with painting. Sometimes there's so many things that are subconscious that you just do without thinking, because it's like muscle memory and like skills you've built over years. Sitting with Byron, and because he was saying the same thing, that once he started doing tuition, he started to think a bit more and go, why do I do that? Why is that like that? And then ask more questions. So that was really good just to watch him go through the process of teaching me dry brushing. And I'm not like too good to be sat down and taught a basic skill, which I've been doing for 20 years, and learn loads from it. So it was great. It was a real good eye, and so much stress was gone.
I love that, because that's the self-critical self-assessment, right?
Yeah.
And how many people have learned from your painting, from your
dry
brushing?
Probably a handful.
Massive handfuls. One handful of a million people. Yes, that's probably what it is. It's probably more than that, to be honest. It's millions. Yeah. Well, no. Actually, no.
It is millions.
It is, because you started at Games Workshop, and so by default there are millions of eyes.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah. So then there's that, and then now there's the painting phase.
Yeah.
There's Peachy Tips, and so by extension, it's already there. So when you start a thing, it's no wonder that it's
I'm going to melt
automatic.
into a puddle. I'm like, what?
It's true.
Hide me.
Is it not true? It's true though, right?
Oh, absolutely, it is. Yeah.
So it's like, of course. In fact, it's probably it's one of those cases where who hasn't seen something somewhere, right? Because there's just the impressions alone. Like, forget about views. The impressions alone. Yeah. Millions.
Yeah. When did this come about? Like, praise Peachy and not talk to Dave.
but this is what
you brought this on yourself.
Yeah. This is why I like Dave, because he is like a proper pep talker. I love it. You're great. You're my inspirational Dave. I'm just going to ring you all the time now.
See what's happening? So now you're feeding it back to me, right? So now and you don't even know this is happening after a while, right? Yeah. And it's so much more fun. Like, in my estimation, it's just so much more fun talking about other people.
Yeah.
Because for me, in my mind, it's like, I want to talk about myself.
Yeah.
I want to talk about you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? And you, wizard behind everything right there, who isn't behind because you got the camera on you too.
Yeah,
I know, but I'm not. I'm barely editing to myself even as I speak this. It's fine. So
You should.
maybe
Get
just
your
1
face on it.
second. Hello, and then back.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
You got a beautiful face.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Automatically, Slanesh player?
Yes.
No, wait, hold on. Sanguinius. That's good. That's more majestic.
He collects Iron Warriors. What would that make him?
Iron without. That makes you a siege breaker. That makes
Peter Turbo, love
Peter
it.
Turbo.
Turbo.
Yeah,
But back to Byron for a second though, because
Byron.
at the expo, I had 20 minutes with him.
Amazing.
When he was at Element, he had his station there painting and stuff. I sat down with him for 20 minutes. We got it on camera, and he showed me dry brushing. Funny enough, and he went through a whole this is how you put the paint on the palette.
Yes, that was really interesting seeing that.
Yeah, I'm like, what? From the get go, it's like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm strapping in because literally everything you're about to do is going to be learning for me.
Yeah, you did these little 45-degree
He did the 45 degrees.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is that? I just never would have even thought of that, right? So he's doing this, and I'm glad that we got it on camera because there was just so much enriched. You could tell there's years of experience and muscle memory and things like even his movements.
Yeah.
I'm like, why do you move that way? What's happening that is that way? Why do you do this and not this? And he was explaining it every step of the way. And we painted up a 3D printed Ross faux hammer.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
He had a bunch of 3D prints at the table. I'm like, get Ross to paint Ross face. That'd be funny.
He looked a bit like, I kept saying he looks like Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe. Yeah, it was so great. Oh, it was awesome. But yeah, it's just like what you do and what you muscle memory. Right? There's so many things we do we don't realize we're doing. It's subconscious, right? Like riding a motorcycle.
Yeah.
Same, right? And in his case, though, he does teach it. So that's like muscle memory plus learned how to teach it. So that is also muscle memory now.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, cool. Yeah, that's an excellent skill set to have if you're good at something.
I felt like I should have given him money at the end of it as well.
Yeah.
The amount of value I got.
Yeah. Like from watching Byron's videos on YouTube, like I've seen that man dry brush with contrast paint.
Yeah.
Like mixed in with a bunch of other stuff, and it's just like, oh, and it'll give me this effect, and it's like,
So
like he knows a lot.
My buddy Steve, who was with me, so he was in the army painting team with me for a long time, and then when I managed the painters, he was one of my quality controllers. Was him and Tom Moore, so they would like be more focused on actually teaching the skills for the new guys that would come in and like showing them like edge highlight and stuff. He knows a lot about painting. There's not much that guy doesn't know about painting. Yes, he's never done awards and stuff. He did apply for heavy metal, but he paints vast amounts as well as really well. So they're like, we could do with you in the army painting team. Heavy metal can get someone else. We want you to do armies.
Yeah.
So he knows a lot about painting. He's used so many different brands of paint, and he's helped me out. So, doing the whole AK thing, I was like, I don't really know about AK paints. Steve, you've got some AK paints. Talk to me. And he showed me all the different things that they can do. He was sat down watching Byron. He was just like, I've learned loads. I'm going to get that paint. I'm going to get that paint. I'm going to get that paint. So he got value out of that. And thinking like, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. I'm not saying Steve's old. He's not. He's younger than me, but he is an old dog. Looks like a dog.
You got to go all the way.
Shaggy, he's a shaggy bear. Tall as well. But yeah.
Shout out to Steve.
Like Steve, hopefully he's watching this. But yeah, I mean, we had so much, we learned so much on that day, and even like that 20 minutes with Byron, I got so much value out of it. I could see Steve was like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Making I've done enough dry brushing now. Sometimes I want texture and sometimes I don't. And adding the moisture in dry brushing is something I can do, but I find it really hard to replicate unless someone's sat next to me. But the way Byron's done it is a far better way.
With his dampening pads and
using the back of the brush to minimise the amount of water that's in there. So it's like, yes, there's some really useful tips there.
I loved that. And he said something that made a lot of sense. He said the amount of water that's on the brush size is it's commensurate with the size of the bristles. So it's like it's the exact amount that you need. Yeah. It's not too much or too little. Yeah. Which I'm like, okay, it's common sense. Yeah. But it's common sense once you learn why it makes sense. Yeah. I'm like, okay, that's cool. And then also, I mean, I've been doing this 16 years and was still noob at painting. Right? So he's like, yeah, so don't use paper towel.
After how many figures have you got? Thousands upon thousands.
To be fair, I didn't paint, that's like, I couldn't even tell you everywhere where that's from. Okay. Yeah, in my mind, that's like, okay, that's the community's
amazing
army.
Yeah.
Right. All armies of Miniwargaming are community because of the community. We have the armies, right? Yeah. So it's like, it's it's my army, but it's Miniwargaming's army, and by extension, it's community's army, because I wouldn't have it without that. So it's like, okay,
Beautiful.
I'll be at the face of it because I just love chaos all day
You're
long.
an angry Korne guy.
An angry corn guy.
Yeah,
right? Yeah. So it's like, but ultimately, that is the truth, right? That's how I see it anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like, to not say that would to deny that. But going back to the dry brushing, like paper towel. I mean, it's like a sin, right?
Yeah.
For dry brushing, like don't use a paper towel. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's still weird for me because I've been doing that for 20 plus years, and paper towel's been around for a long time. But I was saying to Byron when we had a chat to him before that I used to have an old piece of wood that was from an old snooker table of my brother's. Tiny snooker table, not huge. Makes it sound like we lived in a mansion. We did not. It was one of those Christmas sort of snooker tables that were very small, and it was quite texturous, quite porous as well. And I used to use that all the time for I'd have like a little palette, but then I was dry brushing, I'd use the texture of this wood, and I just did it, and that's when my dry brushing was better. And over the years, I've lost that. I use cutting mat sometimes for dry brushing, but I've avoided doing that because it affects the cutting mat. So I've just gone to tissue paper, and my dry brushing hasn't really suffered because I've got that skill set and that muscle memory to know how much to take off and how much to add. But Byron's right; it does remove more moisture. See, for someone that's teaching, it's a harder thing to balance. But because I've got those years of experience, I can know how much is on that brush, and I still get the odd bit here and there where it's a bit like, I need to add a bit more, or that's too much. But yeah, for a good portion of time when I was getting really into dry brushing, getting better at it, wasn't tissue paper, it was wood.
It was wood.
A texturous piece of wood, and Byron's little pad that he's got is kind of reminiscent of that. So
Cutting board. Yeah, so just to shout out a good friend of mine, Jared from Caffeinated Miniatures. He came over at the house and he was showing me, like, we went to the dollar store and we got a cutting board, right, for $1.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Primed it white, right, and then actually we sliced it, cross-sliced it, bunch of slices, primed it white. And he said, this is what we use for dry brush. Let's use this.
Okay.
Right, instead of paper towel. I'm like, okay, cool. Why? And he told me about the moisture.
Yeah.
Yeah. You do it so you keep the moisture, but you reduce the paint.
Yeah.
Which reduces the chalkiness of the dry brush when you do use paper towel. I'm like, cool. That's really cool. I didn't know that. I'm not even thinking about that.
Yeah,
Right? I'm just thinking dry brush. Okay, it's not wet, and you just put it on back and forth. And here's a tip I got from Byron. I love this.
Yeah.
He said it's not with the hand motion. You're not doing this. It's the elbow. You're doing. Doing like first you stipple.
Yeah.
Right, and then you.
Yes. Yeah.
It's the elbow, right? So you actually lock your hand in place. I'm like, that's so cool.
Yeah, I suppose when I think about it, I'm always doing that. I'm not spinning my hand around. I'm always like, I'm moving my elbow. Yeah. Again, not thought about it. Not.
I mean, Byron will be on the show. Why is that better? We'll have to ask him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
1-to-1.
He did actually tell me why.
Oh.
Yeah. What did he say? He said that it's because it's the direction of. It's instead of like smearing, like instead of the bristles like smearing like that, it's the same.
Yes, yeah.
It's the same texture from the brush, no matter the angle, because it's equalized. It's not here's a smear then a dry brush, right? It's all the same.
I suppose if I'm thinking
effect.
like painting and decorating, if I'm like painting a wall or something like that, if you're doing that with a brush, you're bending the bristles up and down to apply paint. Whereas if I have a brush and I move my arm up and down, it's just the brush is doing that.
Yeah, more consistency.
More consistent. Yeah.
So, but I guess the
pattern,
the wrist is applying pressure in a different.
That's right.
Yeah. So yeah.
Varying pressure.
Probably articulated that awfully, but
I get what you mean.
I get what you said.
Yeah.
I do it all the time. I throw a bunch of words, you organize them, and talk about
Yeah.
they're here and they go.
Yeah. So I have something I'd be fascinated to ask you.
Okay.
Is you have sort of lots of, I don't know, we might say over here, your fingers in lots of pies. You have, your themed hotel, you have the YouTube, you have your vault, and then recently we have Ravaged Star and the Damned. What sort of kick-started that? What was the interest into making your own miniature lines?
Okay, so that one specifically, that question? Or fingers and pies and so what do you want to ask? What do you want to know specifically?
Sorry, that was I worded that badly. Why do you want to make miniatures?
Because of chaos. Well, actually, yes, that is the answer. But I had never thought of it before in a serious way. Like Matt did that over a decade ago now with Dark Potential, right? With metal, the pewter miniatures,
yes,
right?
Of course, yeah.
So that was kind of our first experience with that, but to be fair, like that was Matt's baby, right? Came from his mind, and doing all the contacts with manufacturers and whatever. It didn't become a game. The idea was that it would eventually become a game, but it kind of, the miniatures were subpar, just objectively speaking.
Yeah.
They just weren't what it needed to be in order for someone who had someone without altruism, if they were to look at it, that's the test, right? They didn't know us. Be like, yeah, we want you to succeed because we know you, right? Here's the support versus what's this? I've never heard of this. That's a more objective, and so it didn't pass that test.
Got you. Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And so a company, Lazy Squire Games, they reached out to us, to me specifically, about making some minis. And so they had contacted us in the past to do some promotions for their board games that they make miniatures for. There's hard PVC plastic that they use.
It's really nice because you passed me one. I want to paint it. I didn't have enough time to paint it to bring to you, but yeah, it's a really nice type of plastic. I'm still not quite used to that. It's like all in one. It feels like it's a resin model, but it's not.
It's not.
Yeah,
no,
it's bizarre.
It is plastic, and also to be fair, when I think of PVC plastic, like the reference in my brain is like bendy skeletons.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so that was the reference.
Yeah.
And so when they said PVC plastic, I'm like, why? Are you sure? There's got to be better, right? So that was the initial response, right? And then they sent me boxes of their previous games, and I took a look. I'm like, wow, this is incredible. This is PVC plastic? Like, yeah, it's advanced. Like, it has improved over the years. And so they said that the original idea was to make a board game or a skirmish game, right? And before we wanted to do that, we wanted to kind of prime the pump, kind of prime a campaign, a crowdfunded campaign, just to do one, fulfill it, then make a game.
Yeah.
But it kind of, we had thought of doing STLs.
Yes.
There's a lot of STL miniature campaigns.
Yeah.
But there's the same amount of time, resources, marketing effort that goes into that, and also goes into the physical product afterwards. And we just looked at it in physical miniatures. They just make so much more money than STL campaigns, because not everyone has 3D printers. Not everyone knows how to do it, and all that. So we're like, okay, well, that makes more sense to do that, since we're spending the same amount of time beforehand, right?
It is a barrier, I think.
Yeah. And then they asked me, like, well, what kind of minis do you want? Chaos. I want to make chaos. I don't care what it is, right? And then I thought, well, obviously can't do chaos, right? Because I wouldn't want to do chaos. That's ripping off an IP that I love, so I'm not going to do that, right? And I thought, well, how can I do that? How can I do that in a way in which it doesn't do that? And so I talked to some other people in the industry that do make miniatures that can be proxied in other game systems. In Warhammer, sure, but also other game systems. Yeah. Right? So like, how do you do it? Like, has a GW ever said, cease and desist, don't do this, you're not allowed? And there's whatever other companies, like Chapter House, I think. And
Puppets War is probably a big one out there that does like proxy Samurai Marines.
Different themes. And so they said, so Kyle, it was Kyle from Gear Guts Mech Shop. He gave a lot of good advice. And so he said, well, first and foremost, design your miniature from scratch. Like, don't copy. I'm like, okay, that's feels like it's safe, right? Like, don't copy it, just make whatever. You can be inspired by it. That's a different story. Okay, first and foremost that. Don't call it the name of something that exists already. Yeah. Like, forgetting GW for a moment, just any company. Don't call it anything that's already named. Make it a unique name.
Sensible. Yeah.
Sensible, once again, right? And then, you know, if it is going to be a proxy in whatever game, make the scale a little different, maybe a little bigger, right? So then if you do put them side by side, it's not like it's a little bigger. So therefore, it's like there's so many, that's another step away from it as much as it can be in place of it. Yeah. So it's like, oh, okay. Those actually sound like very reasonable approaches to making anything, not just something that could be proxied, right? Okay, sounds good. Inspirations now, right? Like, what can we, Chaos Space Marines. Obviously, there's going to be inspirations there, right? But also from The Witcher. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yes,
right? And then other things too, like Mortal Kombat, right? There's
love it.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, like Willow. Like, those are legit, like, as a kid, like, seeing, like, the villain from Willow, you had that, like, skull mask. I'm like, that's awesome, right? So there's all these, like, kind of visual inspirations that went into it, and to give credit to the sculptors of Lazy Squire Games. Like, they are mad geniuses, like Gustavo in particular.
Yes, yeah,
right.
yeah.
Head sculptor, lead sculptor, right, and then Igor as well. Like Igor does the.
They all sound like baddies from Dracula. I love it.
Yeah. What can we make?
Gustav and Igor.
Yeah, like Igor he's a fantastic artist. Like I had the opportunity and complete privilege of going to Serbia, which is where the other partners are from. There's Robert McConnell. He's the partner stateside in Virginia. Then that's Lazy Squire Games, right? So we went there and we saw the minis. We got to meet the team, and I'm just a dude who gets excited about plastic on YouTube. Like that I know my role, right? Like, and like they are the mechanism that makes this happen, right? And so they said, Dave, would you like to make this with us? It's not just we're going to make a game and then you promote it after the fact. It's every step of the way. There's design influence. There's game design influences every step of the way. I'm like, okay, that sounds like something fun that I would want to do that I've never done before, and it's new. And that's just where the chaos flows, right? And so I just really, it's an opportunity that I could not pass up.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I'm like, yeah, I want to do this. This is fun. And then it's more than just making videos about other IPs and relying on other intellectual properties to kind of perpetuate our content. It then becomes something that we can have more creative influence on, right? And so the campaign was it was successful, man. Like I wasn't expecting that.
You've got a set, haven't you? Is that right?
Yeah. I backed it when it came out.
Thank
so
you.
and there was an email recently saying, yeah, we just want to check your address is all right. And I was like, woohoo.
Thank you for that. Like honestly, like that's awesome.
Thanks for making them.
And
He likes his chaos.
There's more to come, right? So it's it's like wildly like it was like, wait, hold on one second. This is kind of stupid in terms of the engagement here. Like, wow, what do we do with this? Like this completely changes everything, right? So so there's been a pivot in the direction of mini wargaming from this perspective, and it's like, yeah, we make content, always will. Like I've been in like, I'm going to do that. I want to make videos. Like, I don't care what it is. Like whether it's like a short film or like a YouTube short. Like I don't care what it is. I'm going to do like post on Instagram. It's going to be something there, right? But in addition to that, having some sort of involvement with making minis. Yep, sold. Yeah, you're like, okay, let's bring it this way. Okay, Peachy. Yeah, I want to make miniatures with you.
I'm into that.
Okay, right. So it's like, all right, next question. What would you want to make? Right. So then the questions come, and then eventually formulates into a physical idea. Yeah. And then it just happens because mechanisms exist, and then for people like us, I think it was Josh on Mini Wargaming team that explained it to someone who overheard something who told me, and I laughed hilariously because it was like he described it like this: like Matt is a kid flying a kite, and I'm the kite, right? Like it's like goes with the wind, and it's all over the place, and it's like whatever. And he says, "Okay, a little bit down here. All right, let's go this way. We're off this way, Dave." And then it's like, yeah. So it's like it's up in the air like that, which is kind of okay. I accept. That's a good analogy, right?
Sounds like my relationship at home.
Right. So it's like that. Yeah, that kind of, it's your anchor to reality.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I love it.
Which is fine. Like, don't care to change it. No, I'm not giving it a try. Like, it's like, no, you got to focus. You got to like, it's too much. You got to like, and trying to like go against that for so long is like really stifling who we are. Yeah. Right. I can't. No. Okay. I embrace it now.
Yeah. No. It's something we've talked about. Is like down the line, having sculptors, making games and stuff like that. It's really easy just to stay doing one thing. Making YouTube videos. I think I feel been quite lucky that we've constantly had a bit of a step change. Each video has always been a bit of a tweak. So initially it was just like how to paint. Then it was like ultimate yellow paint guide. Then can I do this in 12 hours? Can I do that? And we've always had a bit of a tweak. There's always been like slight ways. So my presenting, I was saying this to Pat, I always feel a little bit stressed because my intros are always a little bit different each time. So I'm always like on the back. So I'm always like, oh, how am I going to say this one? Because it's a bit different to the last one, which is good. And that's how you should be. You should be constantly challenged and constantly trying to adapt the way you do things. So the videos have been changing as we've been going on from the painting point of view. But yeah, certainly from a grand scheme kind of thing, we don't want to just keep it to painting. We've had a little bit of a dabble at games, want to do more of that.
Yeah.
When we get premises, that'll be like, we'll do some more gaming. We've got our chat shows, want to do more with that. But then we want to get to actually physically making games. So we have a whole, I won't even say it's a 5-year plan. It's not a 10-year plan. It's an until we die plan.
Yeah.
Yes. Or retire.
I love that. I love it so much. So, okay, I've been doing this thing recently where it's, because, there's a lot of, when we talk about the past, for instance, right? Like it's time traveling, because what does that even mean? We're talking about, it's all conceptual. Like this happened, I remember it this way. No, it happened this way. No, it happened this way. So that's the past.
Yeah.
And then the future is like, okay, we can do this in the future. Or on the bad side of that, here's anxiety about the future, worry about the future, right? And then there's the present, which is really, in my opinion, that's the only thing that really is.
Yeah.
Because I'm here right now with you, looking at your beautiful eyes. Yeah. Right. So this is the present, right? This is if reality is this, then this right. This feels real.
Yeah.
Whatever this is, right?
It's getting hot in here.
Which I hope it germinates into something.
Yeah. Let me just stop.
I've got the margarine ready.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're gonna have a spit later. All right. Back to reality. Who's going to tether us to reality?
Matt, where are you?
Matt, where are you? Kate. Yeah. So thinking about the present, right?
Yeah.
So I found that it's been for me anyway, because I used to worry a lot and still do from time to time, obviously. But like more of a default is being present, because I used to think it's just like just pay attention, be present, but it's taking it a step further to like just be in the present, right? Just the now, the eternal now.
Yeah.
Always is now, right? And if time is a thing, right? If it's the fourth dimension or if whatever it is, like it's okay. Well, making a game. I want to make a game versus I make games is a very different sentence. And so right now, like you've already thought about making games. That's already started the process of making a game. So you're right in the middle of it right now.
Yeah.
Right? So it's just a matter of more time before you're further along that process, instead of, one day I'll make a game.
Yeah.
It's perpetually in the future. Whereas I make games. I make minis.
Yeah.
Okay. You have an idea? Cool. Then it just happens.
Yeah.
So it's so much more powerful. But again, I'm a moron who knows nothing, so don't listen to me.
No.
So that's what it is. It tethers that, right?
Yeah.
And so
it's got to start somewhere, right? It's like the seed.
It's the seed, right? So that's helpful it's been helpful for me.
Yeah.
To kind of think of it that way. And it's also because there's, as you said, there's so many projects, there's so many fingers and pies. It's helpful not to get stressed out or overwhelmed by all that.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it would be a maelstrom of war constantly. And like, how do you keep track of all this stuff? And well, I only really need to keep track of what's happening right now.
Yeah.
I'm here with you, Peachy. Right?
Yeah, it's a really good way of thinking about it. Like I think with the way I've been dealing with the channel recently is, say like we have more like video sponsors now. Like this video is sponsored by so and so, and I won't say a name in case we have a sponsor on this one. Who knows?
Yeah.
And when the deadlines come in, and it's like, right, we've got this, and it's just like, oh my god. Whereas it's like, right, no, I'm just going to sit, I'm going to edit, I'm going to make a good video that people want to watch, and just trying to remind myself of that. And kind of like, I guess not ignoring it, but
it's okay having a plan, but also be in the moment and enjoy the moment and do the thing.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I used to, and I remember Jervis Johnson, such a clever guy. He once said, because I can't remember what the project was now, it was a long time ago. And I was a bit sort of like, not flustered, but a bit stressy about how I'm going to do it. And I was talking to, I can't remember if it was Duncan or someone else, we were getting a cup of tea. And I was like, I'm not sure I'm going to do it. I've only got this amount of time. And Jervis was there making a cup of tea. And Jervis, if you've ever spoken to Jervis Johnson, he's just like, hello, I'm Jervis Johnson. It sounds a bit like Gandalf.
Yes.
Welcome. Jervis is never late, nor is he early. So I was there making a cup of tea, and he turned around to me. I was just like, can you fix the problem now? I was like, no. Then don't worry about it.
Awesome.
And I was like, oh, cool. He was like, and if you can fix the problem, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I was like, Oh yeah, and that kind of like philosophy of like, if you can't fix it, don't worry about it because there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
And if you can fix it, don't worry about it because you know you can fix it. It's obviously people have anxiety issues and stuff like that, and sometimes that doesn't quite work for some people.
Correct. Yeah.
But certainly from my point of view at that moment in time, I was like, yeah, I can fix it. It is fixable, or I can't fix it. So why stress? Just deal with the situation as it unfolds and then do the best you can with what you've got.
Yeah.
And it was, quite a simple statement that I'm sure in the comments some people were like slating me for. You go, that's a really rubbish way of describing the world. But
it's one way.
From a creative point of view, it's really useful.
It's useful.
And it works. And it worked for you as well.
And it's become like a mantra in my own. I don't go preaching it to other people, but if I see someone that's of a similar personality type that, because I've worked with other people that do have anxiety, and I've said, this works for me. They're like, that would never work for me because anxiety works differently. I was like, because everyone suffers to a certain degree with anxiety at different levels, but when someone's really suffering with it, I got them to try and explain how that is, and I was like, I'm not nowhere near you. That sounds like a rough, a rough way to be. And if there's anything I could do to help, let me know. But mental health has so many different ways of affecting people that one statement that works for me is not necessarily going to work for that person. And you just try and work your way out to help that person as best as they can, and it could just be, just talk to me or cry in front of me. That's fine. If that helps, you cry or whatever. But the Jervis Johnson thing works for me.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that because ultimately that's how you feel.
Yeah.
And if it can help someone, excellent. If it doesn't, also permissible. It's not like this is the only way to get rid of this. It's, that's bollocks.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, don't invalidate someone's feelings because you've got like some weird statement that someone once told you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's interesting listening to like a bunch of podcasts of like these entrepreneurs, and I do this, and they're like, I'm going to give you the tip to make you do this and be really successful. And it's like,
absolute.
Well, that's worked for you.
Yeah.
And it might not necessarily work for me or for someone else or whatever. And quite a lot of it is like, you just got to work hard and people will say no, but you've just got to keep going. And then I kind of was like, I might stop listening to this chap. And then like a podcast afterwards, he was like, I think I kind of need to revise how I say to do stuff. Because he said someone came up to him with this idea for a product or something and was like, I've taken it to loads of people, but they've said no and they don't want to do it. And he looked at the product and was like, they're saying no because it's not great.
Yeah.
But you followed my advice saying, ignore everyone. It is great and you're going to achieve and be wonderful. And he's kind of like, I can see that was wrong and I need to think about how I present that in the future, which I thought was very interesting and quite honest as well. Yeah.
I mean, that self-reflection is really good, actually. Because we've had that when you've commented in a video and then someone's said, I don't like the way you pitched that, and you're like, oh, obviously I articulated that very wrong, and then you had a great engagement in the comments after it because you explained, because I'm like that sometimes. And I remember seeing like a little meme about if you can't say it, write it. So sometimes I struggle to articulate, and that could be down to the education system in the UK when I was in the 80s. Not great. It's just that's how it was, and even now when like we had Annie from Bad Squid Games on, there was like the whole like when to say female, when to say woman, and like, talking about like verbs and nouns and pronouns, and my head just goes, "You're saying words to me. I have no idea what you're telling me." Right now. And that's the late mid to late 80s, early 90s education system, because they used to. Sorry, we're going off on a tangent, but that's what we do. If you knew a field, so if you were at school and you were good at maths, they put you in the higher graded classes of maths and spent a lot of tension on you. If you didn't know much about maths, you get shoved in the lower group with a teacher that is just there as a custodian to just herd cats.
They're dressed in gold.
Yeah.
Warhammer podcast.
but it was when I look back at it now, it was awful. So my English was awful, my maths were awful. So what they do is they put you in the bottom class of maths and English, and you don't really learn much.
Yeah.
So how are you supposed to get better? I thought the idea was, if you're good at something, nurture that. If you're not very good at something, help them. I can't swim. And how they used to deal with that at school was, you can't swim, there's a float, go in the shallow end and keep yourself entertained. I'm going to teach those that can swim how to swim.
And how to swim better. Yeah.
And I'm like, cool. So I'm there with a float just going, I have no idea what I'm doing right now. So I can drown really well. I think if it ever came to...
Well, I'm going to be perfectly honest, Peach. You don't drown very well because you're still here.
Well, I'm saying if I ever in a watery situation, I'll be an expert drowner.
Yes.
Okay.
Follow his lead.
Yeah.
You're like, stand back. I've got this.
Film this and then use it for film and video and movies later on how to properly drown.
That's right.
Because I'm very good at that.
Oh, okay.
At least as a one-off, it'll be a one-off situation, but I'd like to think I'd be very good at it.
Make sure there's a good thumbnambel though.
Yeah, it's got to be a good thumbnail. Yeah, we should do that.
Yeah. The circle and the red arrow. Yeah.
But yeah, it's weird. I like, that whole system where it's like, we'll concentrate on those that are really good. And painting, weirdly, as I said, painting videos can be like that, where there's a lot of painting videos which focus on a really high-end skill, but it's only really useful for those that already do it. But if you already do it, there's no point. I mean, you might learn 1 or 2 bits from it, but you're already at that level. So what are you learning from it? And there's others that are like, oh, I'm going to watch this video because it's going to teach me how to paint really well. And what it does is it just makes you feel bad.
Yeah.
And you get at the end of it going, that was amazing to watch. It was really such artistry, but I don't know how to get from that sort of like step 1, I've nailed because I put some base coats on. Step 2, I put a wash on. Step 3, finished article that's blended with all the highlights, all the glazes. I don't know how to get from wash to that. How did that happen in the video? Education system and some paint guides are very similar.
Got deep, man.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry I interrupted that and went, custodies, lol. See, I'm just an idiot.
I don't even know how I got to the subject at school, but because Annie, I was struggling with words and stuff, but
which is funny because from my perspective, like I find that you articulate quite well. I mean,
Top Gun actor, Dave.
Quite eloquently, actually, to be honest.
Prove yourself to me, Gary.
Yeah. Throw words, you organize.
I'll try. Yeah. I learned a lot from my wife. She is She is a technician at school. I'd like to think, organises teachers. Without the technicians, the teaching system would fall down.
Yeah.
Because the technicians do all the legwork. They're like the editor behind the presenter. The presenter, I'm the meat bag in front of the camera that says stuff, but he makes me look pretty and makes me sound intelligent because he cuts out all the stupid bits. So Liz is a bit like you, really, which is she's the one that organises. I mean, technically, she isn't like an art technician or a science technician or a DT technician. She does a lot of display work around the school and gets everyone's work, but she knows a lot about other stuff and she sees a lot of good teaching and a lot of bad teaching. She's great. She's very intelligent. And what used to annoy me is whenever I wrote a CV or a letter, I was like, I've got an idea for it. I'll make up some of my own games. I'll be like writing it up, and she'd be like, should see this half page of information. She's like, can I just jump in there and reword it? I'm like, yeah, sure. She'd turn that into a sentence and it still said the same thing. And I hate her for it. And I'm like, how do I get that skill? How do I do that? She's like, Chat GPT.
Yeah, Chat GPT. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
in physical form.
Yeah. Chat GP wife.
Chat GP wife, yeah.
How do I ask my wife?
Yeah.
Or should I call it Nag GPT? I'm so dead. She watches the videos. So so I'm in trouble now.
It's interesting that you say not to compare me and Liz, but say she makes you look good in that bit, or like I make you look good here and that kind of thing, is because I consider myself not as like the main character, but more of a facilitator. In that, like, I don't know, like, I don't necessarily think that I should be the main character, but I feel like my skills are best suited to going, right, okay, we'll make awesome videos for you. Or if we have a D&D campaign with my mates, I'll be like, right, I'll DM and you can go on the adventure and that kind of thing.
But the DM makes the adventure the adventure.
Right.
I guess so.
And if you ever seen any of Pat's stuff before I turned up, I think your presenting's great. Should have been a presenter. You're good at presenting.
That reminds me, actually, my video that I made to get my job at Games Workshop, I found it. So I'll release it to patrons.
Oh, fantastic. I want to see this.
What'd you do at Games Workshop?
I was a videographer, so videographer editor for Warhammer Plus. So like Battle Report was the main thing that I worked on.
It was very clever. You could do 4 people's job because 4 people do your job now, at least.
But they release more consistently now.
Do they?
I think so.
Do they?
Well, they're not really filming Citadel Masterclass at the minute, aren't they?
That's true.
They don't have any presenters, so
Yeah,
maybe
they've got extra editors now because no one's filming it.
But no, no. I guess like the I don't know, the format of Battle Report is kind of like that. The sort of DNA of it was the group that I was part of.
Shout out to Adam Langton as well. Hope you get better, mate, because he was jumping in for Suggs. And then his back's gone, playing too much squash or fighting crime. I can't remember which one it was. Fighting crime. Yeah. Fighting crime. Yeah. And he's had a kid as well, so congratulations.
Yeah.
Again, another one.
Amazing.
Yeah. Well, he's not had a kid. His lovely partner's had a kid.
Yeah.
Yes.
He just sits there with a bad back going, "You right, darling?" No. Patreon questions.
We have,
if you're okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's dive in.
We put out because this was arranged quite last minute, which is fantastic. But I was like, he might be here within an hour. Who knows? Drop me some questions, hoping that a couple of people might see it. And we've got loads, so they've done well.
Excellent.
And some of them, our patrons are like us, a little bit silly. And might ask some silly questions, but
what's your favourite cheese?
We'll see how it goes.
That tends to be one.
Those are the important ones that matter, though.
Yeah.
Yes, good.
But the first question is: if it wasn't Korne, what other chaos deity would you be obsessed with?
I would have asked that as well. Nice.
Really undivided. Let me see. Well, I feel so. Everything I'm about to say, I'm going to betray Korne.
Imagine they didn't exist.
Yeah, Korne's disappeared.
If they didn't exist, if Korne didn't exist, then I wouldn't exist because I ain't.
Good answer.
That's the answer. Like it's okay. I feel that all chaos is permissible.
Yeah.
Right. So then all 3 together into one.
Oh, very good.
Yeah. Which is ultimately Zinch because it's just going to change his mind anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
Another Korne related question. Blood for the blood god or skulls for the skull throne?
Yes.
Nice.
Amazing. Jack asks, what's your favourite part of the hobby?
You are. Yes.
We need to get a room.
I think we do have one.
Yeah, just
There is a cameraman. Yeah. It was
Only fans coming soon.
that's right. It's the community, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Community's amazing.
Wonderful.
88% of the Korne wants it all day long. So that's
Nice.
better than 100%. By
Nice.
the way. Yeah.
Fantastic. As a veteran of the Warhammer YouTube community, what do you think of the way the hobby has evolved on YouTube and in general?
It's simultaneously an explosion of a sea of content creators and content, and also kind of like a renaissance of you can do anything you could possibly imagine.
It's like a trailer to a movie when he talks.
Yeah, I was just
So
like,
amazing.
oh, yeah.
Mike,
wonderful.
Silver tongue devil. I see in myself, I hear Clint Eastwood. The reality is someone that sucked too much helium. So when I watch my videos back, I'm like, oh God, is that how I sound?
Yeah.
Hello.
The only time I've thought I sounded cool, I had like a chest infection and lost my voice, and it was just
cool.
croaky.
Yes,
and,
I love the sick voice where it's like you have a bit of a rasp.
Yeah, like your sick voice. Oh, shouldn't exist.
Ladies will ovulate within 40 yards.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, how many skulls does a skull throne need if a skull throne did need skulls?
Yes. Well, at least 8. I mean, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm trying to work out. You got
yeah.
legs. You need a seat. You need a back.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think that actually works.
Yeah. Division of 8. Perfect. Is there anything missing from your chaos collection?
Yes.
Oh.
What would you add?
The answer is all of the chaos because it never ends.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, very good
it's
point.
not
Yeah.
stopped. It's not ended. Like there's more than 144 now because since making the video, it's been added.
I bet,
to, right?
because it was a year ago, wasn't it?
about that.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's right.
Whoa.
Yeah, so it's over 150 now.
What?
Yeah. So
Incredible.
Do you have a goal
Just keeps growing.
with that army?
I have no goals.
Cool. Good. I like this.
Yeah.
I was like, 1 million points. No, more.
Yes.
You what? In fact, I think this Chaos Army is the skulls of the Skull Throne. It's just every model is like a new skull for Korne.
Yeah.
It's a skull.
Constantly. And everyone at home that's painting one is technically for Dave.
Yes.
Well, every Chaos model that ever gets painted in existence is actually dedicated to you. That's what I believe.
Don't tease me.
That's true.
Is it
Every Chaos model. I mean, when I was painting this, I was thinking of you. At some point down the future, I'm sure this will end up in his collection, one way or another.
Yeah.
Currently, it's a giveaway, but
I was going to say, if you join our Patreon,
There's a
Dave,
chance
you
of winning
could,
it.
you could
him and his buddies.
actually? I'll take a picture of it and I'll promote the giveaway.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. You can do it real time. I'll listen to your next question.
Fantastic. Having now released the core rules for the 10th edition of 40k, what are you most excited about?
I might be holding it in my hands. Okay, so what am I most excited about?
For 10th, yeah.
Korne Berserkers charging into combat.
Yep.
1000% all day long. That is when I play games, as long as that happens, I don't care if I win or lose.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just fun.
I've got a quick question to chuck in because it's just made
Go
me think
for
of
it.
it. Because my first Chaos product I ever bought was Korne Berserkers.
Mm-hmm.
How much excite did you have when you saw the new Chaos Berserkers? Because I know Wade certainly did, but I was tempering it as much as I could.
Yeah.
But I was like, because it was my first plastic box set that I got for myself.
Yeah.
And I've had them in my collection for a long time. So
Yes. Okay. So that actually probably answers it. There's a loss of words for the excitement.
is this the otaku?
Did the research.
I did. I'm very wabi sabi myself.
Wacky savvy. I love it.
Wabi sabi is perfection in imperfection.
Yes. Yes.
Oh.
That's right.
Very good.
Yes, I'm
I
very
don't know what I am. Incredible. What is the oldest mini you own?
Deafy. Yeah. Defiler. Chaos Defiler.
Ah, nice.
Ah, very
Deafy's
good.
Been there since the
I
beginning.
love the name Deffy.
Yeah.
It's first one painted and continues to be there.
I remember that being a big game changer as well for Chaos kits and stuff like that. Like, so used to like tanks, rhinos, predators, land raiders, then walking hellbeast.
Yeah.
Big mouth cannon. Ah! It's like, cool, that's Chaos.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
I think that because I got this box, it was the Chaos Space Marine Global starter set back then.
Yeah.
And it came with a Rhino and the Chosen and some Berserkers and Chaos Lord, right? And then a Defiler. And so when you think of Warhammer and you see that, it's like, okay, this is the level of absurdity that we're going to go to.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. What is this?
What
is the arm? What is that, right?
Because I can't remember now, my mind's fogged. Was the Soul Grinder a little bit later as an update to the Defiler?
That's what my memory tells me.
Yeah.
But time's an illusion. So,
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Because there was like a demon dude you can stick on the Defiler's body, and I was, if memory serves, was like it was an addition later on. But I always think, what was it at the same time?
All I know is that I had
a
a
Defiler
in my possession before a Soul Grinder.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Incredible. I think this one is one for the group. Name a biscuit that represents each chaos god. In brackets, this may require a fair amount of direction from the Brits in the room.
Well, as a Slanesh player, I'm going to say Pink Wafer.
Ooh,
Oh,
not a hobnob. Not a hobnob.
Hobnob is chaotic in its own right. I feel Hobnob is undivided.
Ooh, okay.
It's got structure, but
I'd
also
say I'd like Hobnob, just like strong and sturdy and always reliable. You know, that's
you can dip it into tea and it won't fall apart.
Is the Hobnob more of an Imperium biscuit,
It could well be.
or is it too decadent?
What about bourbon creams? I think that might be Slanesh too.
Ooh, yeah, you know what? You are right on that. I'm a bit of a creamy guy.
Yeah,
that sounded better in my head.
Silky creamy.
Silky creamy. Bourbon creams.
Yeah.
They're a bit brown as well.
Yeah.
Okay, what's an angry biscuit for Korne?
Angry biscuit. Something sharp, something spiky, something a bit sort of like
I'm struggling. I'm drawing a blank.
Garibaldi.
Put me on the spot. Garibaldi. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, because they're called dead fly biscuits because they have raisins in.
That should be Nurgle then.
So that's Nurgle.
Definitely Nurgle. Yeah.
So Garibaldi's for Nurgle.
Zinch, change your ways. So what is a biscuit that's a bit amorphous and constantly feels not right? Jaffa cake, because people still argue.
Yes.
Biscuit cake.
Yes.
It's been put to court that it is cake, but I think Jaffa cake should be Zinch.
Yeah.
I love how you guys have so many biscuits. Like, this doesn't exist in Canada, right? Like, all the names that you're using right now. Like, what is this stuff? I only know hobnobs.
The fact that we had a court hearing to do with, like, is it a cake or is it a biscuit goes to show how British this place is.
Yes. Yeah.
Very important point.
Have you ever had a Jaffa cake, Dave?
Yes.
You can say,
No, I haven't.
No.
But I have, because time's an illusion, and now I want one.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, when after this chat finishes and you go and get one.
Yes, please.
They're essentially kind of like quite round and quite cakey, and they're called Jaffa cakes. And because it's the UK, like the cake institution, whatever it is, took them to court and was like, you can't legally call them cakes. They're biscuits. So apparently they made a massive cake version of a Jaffa cake. And said, no, it is a cake. And biscuits go soft and cakes go hard and Jaffa cakes go hard. So they were like, checkmate, biscuit people. And it's amazing. And I think that's one of the wonderful things about being British is we argue about biscuits. Yeah.
I found my corn one.
Oh.
Cookies.
Yeah.
Cookies.
Yeah.
I just feel that you can have all sorts of like sharp bits in those, and
Or
you could fill them with skulls.
Would the Korne version, I don't know if you experience this, but you have a biscuit tin at home somewhere when you're younger generally, and you're like, I can't believe it, I found the biscuits. You open it up and it's your mum's sewing supplies.
I used to get it all the time. My gran did that. You think you're sneaking down at night time, and it's just like,
And so that's chaotic, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, Zinch, nope.
Yeah.
No, corn is digestive because it has pictures of corn on it.
Yes.
Oh, very good. Yeah. Yeah.
Two little sheets of
Fantastic.
corn. That makes sense, right?
Did you say sheafs?
Is it sheafs? Is that? Would you say sheafs of corn? Is it a sheaf?
Oh, I don't know.
Ooh.
I'm not qualified to answer that.
Stalk, sheaf.
Corn stalk.
Sheaf may be a bundle. I don't know.
Yeah.
Farmers out there, in the comments, please.
Wonderful.
Leafs?
Leaves.
I've heard of that, but I'm not a farmer.
I've heard of leaves, but I'm not a farmer. I love it.
You're welcome for the input. That's very valuable.
Yeah. So we had a moment. Do you consider it tournament legal? Oh, sorry. Do you consider it a tournament? Words. Do you consider it a tournament legal move to keep a can of spray paint near you during a close match so you can reprime your opponent's minis, losing them 10 VP they get for having fully painted models?
Ouch.
I mean, is it against the rules?
No one's written it.
No one's written it.
No. Not until they've watched this, they're not.
So what, you just spray them one color and then they don't have a legal army. Yeah.
I mean, granted, that's actually a pretty creative way of getting out of that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Whoever that was, thank you.
That
Just 10
was
points behind. Quick, get me a rattle can Mac.
that was Stephen Harper. So if that ever happens to anyone,
Steve strikes again.
Someone asked, what do you think of 10th edition so far?
So far, this is an interesting one because I haven't played many games of 9th edition.
Same.
Probably about a dozen.
I played one.
Yeah. And so it's, as a Warhammer fan, personally, I'm saddened by that because I want to enjoy the game on the tabletop. And so 10th edition to me it's no longer a habit for me to play. Right? It's always been a habit to get excited about the stuff and community, but playing the game proper, it's now not a habit.
Yeah.
It's now, do you want to play a game? It's like, well, okay, but I don't know how to play anymore. So, okay, let's stumble through that together, right? Yeah. Hopefully you know, which you probably do because I know nothing, right? So there is hope. I do feel hope in okay, new edition, there's new lifeblood, there's excitement, there's a lot of buzz around that. So hope is a good word that I would use. And,
yeah.
I think there's an element to that as well. When I was getting armies prepared for ninth was during lockdown. So I did a couple of armies then. I started one beforehand. So I had Genius of the Cults, I had Sisters of the Battle, was building up my Imperial Guard a bit more as well, so I could have like a combined force of like Marines, Sisters of the Battle and Guard. But because the whole COVID thing was there, and I had a group of mates I used to play with from time to time, and then we just never really got back into meeting up and playing games as often. If we did, it was skirmishes because we didn't have much time.
Yep.
Having a child obviously does affect, like, you know, do you want to go out tonight or should I go out tonight? Is that okay? You know, it's like, and also work as well. Live streaming every night was taking up most of my time.
Yeah.
So finding actual time with my family was hard, let alone playing games with my friends. So I definitely think like that whole, for me as a personal thing with Ninth, which is why I only played one, and that was for Battle Report. So I was briefly taught by Simon Grant, thank you Simon, on the rules, and then played my Ventrilo Nobles, which was great. So I had 4 games, 3 practice ones, and then but it was the same army, so technically it feels like one game. But yeah, I think COVID might have had an effect on a lot of people's gaming during that time. So whether that might be a thing, not just restricted to me from a gaming point of view, but I wanted to play more, just never got the time. So I sympathise with you.
Yeah. It was just to add on to that for a second there. Because someone asked me like, so then you don't play then, right? That's the response, and I thought about it for a second. I'm like, well, I do play. I just haven't played in a while. Because to say that I don't play would mean that I do not play.
Yeah.
So if you go a week without playing, or a year without playing, or 3 years without playing, you don't necessarily stop playing.
No.
You just haven't played in a while.
Yeah.
So
I've not played Lord of the Rings for a good 2 years. Still know the rules. Still want to play. Doesn't mean just because I've not played it in 2 years doesn't mean I will never play it again.
Right.
I love Lord of the Rings. Favourite game.
Yeah.
Just not found that time to connect with people and do it. So
Yeah.
You're right. Just because you don't play doesn't mean you don't want to play.
You just said I was right. That's dangerous.
You are right.
So if you say that, I validate what you said. So thank you for saying that.
I love it.
So next question from Ed. Favorite arm workouts to build Astartes-sized arms?
It's going to have to be a flex roll. Yeah, that's Stephen Box.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's. I think that one's pretty effective.
I like that. I like
it's
that.
a practical strength, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't do it like he does, though.
Yeah. Do you like arm your guns like Henry Cavill? He's just like, that before you get rolling dice.
Yes, of course.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's like instant double dose of dopamine every time. It's like, yes, I want to see that.
Ollie would love to know if you have... Oh, that camera is overheated. I'll go to you. There we go. I'd love to know if you have any tips on maintaining the passion for growing a particular army/collection for a long time, like you have with your Chaos collection.
Any tips?
Yeah.
That's an interesting question, because I don't think about it. I just do.
Yeah.
So if I see something I want to add, I just add it.
Yeah.
And so it's not a goal. It's not like, oh, one day I'll have this size.
Yeah.
So I guess that would be the tip, is to not have any goals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't restrict yourself. Yeah.
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 Very, very interesting. Question. Were you impressed by UK Games Expo, and how has it compared to like Adepticon and the cons you have in Canada and the US?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. First time experience, by the way. I didn't even, like, full disclosure, I did not know it was a thing and that it existed. So for someone being in the community for this long and never having heard of it before, and it's big.
It's pretty
big deal, right? So James, he's the expo, he's the guy to talk to, right, in terms of organization of the whole thing. I had a chance to talk to him briefly, and he told me that it's number 3 in the world, next to Gen Con and
really?
Essenspiel, and then
and
then the expo, right?
Yeah,
so I'm like, so how many people? 50,000 plus.
That's
right?
amazing.
So massive. So first and foremost, it's like, okay, massive. And then cool, it exists. And then there's so much to do.
Yes, yeah.
Like there's cosplay, right? There's games, there's demos.
Yeah.
There's the people, everywhere. There's fun. There's
So much fun.
chaos just constantly. So I think it's like, and ultimately it's a feeling. Like it feels like home.
What I liked about it, and next year I'm going to get my lad to come along and try and persuade Liz as well, is there's something for everyone. And I noticed that when I attended Spiel, and we did the Age of Sigmar Roadshow, that was huge and there was so much. But what I really like is there's areas for someone like me, and I can wander around and look at stuff. But then there's areas where I know Charlie will just love, and even areas that my wife, even though she's not a gamer, she appreciates what I do, she likes what I do, but she's very crafty. She likes like handmade things, and obviously I'm handmade things, but I'm talking more like wooden boxes, leather bags, and stuff like that. There's loads of that. And loads of like little craft stalls and just like really nice little trinkets, and that's something I know my wife would like looking at. So there's literally something for everyone in that place.
Yeah,
and I one day's not enough.
No,
we can see why they have it for 3 days.
Yeah, definitely.
Get a hotel and just enjoy the ride.
Pigs on trampolines.
Yeah, I saw that, and I was
so
like,
much fun.
I didn't play it. What was it like?
Okay, so I don't know if you've seen it. You saw it. So there is this mud pit in the middle that's elevated, and there's 4 little trampolines, and you have these tiny little like pigs that you bounce and you try to get them to land in the mud pit in the middle.
Oh, fantastic.
And there's like, I don't know, 10 little mud splatter things, and whoever gets the most first wins.
It's like a more refined version of Tiddlywinks. I love it.
Yes. And so I was playing it, right? And then there was this little girl. She's probably like 4 years old. She was also playing at the same time.
Yeah.
And then another adult came from the crowd, just, oh, that looks like it's fun. And we were all playing this together, and we're like, oh, I almost got it. Oh, you got it.
Yeah.
It was so much fun. That was my favorite game of the convention.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, I literally walked and I saw it. I was like, that looks cool. But then there was a reason I was on the way to Whaling because we're doing the thing for Whaling. I was like, I'll come back to that in a bit. I just never got a chance to get back to it.
Yeah. Quick shout out to Whaling Games for inviting us along and giving us some passes. That was very nice of them.
Yeah, it was great.
They've been fantastic, I gotta say.
Yes. Yeah, they're lovely
too.
Yeah.
I don't know if you
really
noticed.
like them.
Sorry to segue. I don't know if you noticed it. I remember Pete the Wargamer. I think it was Pete or Martin and Mikey were saying whenever like 2 YouTubers or influencers were in the same place, everyone else seemed to just gravitate to that area. It became like a magnetization.
Yes.
So it was like they were all scattered on their own. Then 2 got together. It was like, chaos.
Yeah.
So like the Whaling game stand, the Element game stand was just chock-a-block with Vizslot for ages. Just getting in the way of all these poor people just trying to buy games.
I think I think Mikey was trying to come up with a collective noun for YouTubers, so like a murder of crows or whatever, and they were saying it was a clout of YouTubers.
Nice.
A clout of YouTubers. That's awesome. By the way, Mikey's awesome, man. I've never met him in person before. Like we've had online interactions and stuff, but super down to earth guy.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, he's very welcome. So was Georgie as well. Georgie. Yeah, Georgie. I always say Geordie. It's Geordie Broad, but Georgie.
Yeah,
she is his anchor to reality.
Yes. Yeah.
She's great too. Yeah. She's great with people.
We had Mikey as a guest on the show a few months ago now, I think. And like we had Pete the Wargamer on as well. And
Pete too, is the first time I saw his face.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's mad, isn't it?
He released a video on YouTube recently, and he has his face in the introduction.
Nice.
Because we did ask him, it was like, is it a reason it's only your hands? And he was like, I don't have enough cameras.
Yeah, as a I'm going to throw this out there as well. So my mate Steve, he has been in the hobby a long time as I have, and he turned up and he said he's never felt more welcome because he didn't know any of the influencers and the folks around. He was just there with me because he was going to go to Expo anyway, and I was like, oh, come along, we could all go down together. And he was like, oh, I don't want to get in the way, I want you do your thing, and I'll just wander around and this, that, and the other. And it was like everyone was just so nice and so welcome. I heard all these stories from like when I was in the studios that all those YouTubers out there are all very up their own backside, and they're all very sort of like egotistical and this, that, and the other. He's like, I never saw it. They were all just really welcoming. They didn't have to talk to me. I wasn't important, but they all made me feel welcome. They all engaged with me. And I was like, welcome to the great wide world of just doing your stuff that you love and enjoying it. There's these weird labels that are given to people. It's not true. And I don't know where these like rumors come from. It just does make me wonder sometimes, like, who generates that rumor? Who says these things like, don't talk to them, they're evil. Yeah. Steve's hard to please sometimes, and he was just like so chilled and enjoyed himself.
Excellent.
Great example.
Scott asks, I heard you love to play Tau.
Blue-blooded filth.
Is there a way to cancel people
Yes.
who are Patreon?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
I agree.
To banning.
Yes, we can.
You're on board.
I'm a tower file.
You're a tower file.
Oh no, that's the opposite. That
Wait.
means I love them.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
get rid.
Defile Tau.
Defile the Tau.
That's right. Yeah. That's,
yes.
I don't even remember what the question was. You just said the trigger word and then we're off, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're into Korne rage. Murder him.
Well, we'll swap to a serious question from Harry. Have you ever had the urge to throw yourself into a bath of mayonnaise?
Beans. Baked beans.
Why mayonnaise?
So you've done beans?
No, I want to.
Oh, you want to?
I have an urge to throw myself into a massive vat of baked beans.
I don't know if you heard, but the question said mayonnaise.
Oh, man.
If there's chips on the side, then yes.
Ooh.
Sorry, fries.
Yeah, I see what you did. They're not chips, they're crisps, right?
They're crisps, yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, I sometimes struggle now.
Yeah.
Divided by a common language.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Oh, fantastic. Someone said, how are you doing, Dave?
No, I'm doing really well.
You look
Fantastic.
Thank you.
great.
Yeah. Will Ravage Star Minis ever go on a general release?
Define general release.
And that in itself can be the answer to the question. I don't know. Or like, will you be able to buy them from a shop? Or
Okay. That helps to dial the question.
Yeah.
So Gaz, whom you've met,
Yeah.
so worked in the industry a number of years in trade, and he is now on the Miniwargaming team as the business development manager, is like he likes to call himself. He said,
Did he give himself that title?
Yeah, he did. Yes, but to be fair, it is actually what he does.
Yeah.
And so he's like, no, Dave, things are done properly over here, so that's what it is.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I'm like, oh, so you go around and you make stuff happen. Like, essentially, yes, but like that's what it is. And so the answer is yes, because he's building the trade portion of Mini Wargaming.
Oh, fantastic.
Right. So the idea is that once it's all released, that it's actually in stores as well.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Because he told me, he's like, what's your plan for trade? We're going to do a game found campaign. People are going to get their stuff and maybe do trade later. He's like, no. It'll die on the vine if that's the case. Because when people get their stuff and their buddies see it, where do you get that? Oh, it's not available anymore. Then it dies.
Yeah.
I'm like, I've never actually thought of that before.
That's very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, well, thank you, Gaz, for bringing that to our attention. So if there's anything we can do, who do you know, right? And like, can you do that, Gaz? Right? And he's like, well, now I'm going to have to do it. Right? So like now he's a part of the team. And that's what he's doing, right? He's been doing a fantastic job. And
Fascinating.
Because of him, we're doing the damned
Yeah.
War Games Atlantic. That was
Yes,
him.
I really like them.
Yeah.
Big fan of them. I like the Ogrins. I was looking at them, finding ways to turn them into Imperial Guard.
Of course, right? So
Because someone had mentioned about the Ogrins, like you could turn them into Ventrili Nobles. I was like, looking at the paint jobs going, yes, I can.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do that. So
excellent.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Thank you for those models.
More?
Oh, I'm going to get them. I'm going to get loads. I'm just going to have an army of Ogrins.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, that'll be great fun.
That'll be amazing.
Horrendous to play against, I imagine, but fun.
I'll just treat them as individual guardsmen in the rules, but just have large scale. What am I fighting against right now? It's to matter. Just enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
Shout out to Charlie too, because Charlie he works at War Games Atlantic. Very good friends with Gaz, and so all the stuff that's done behind the scenes. That's the other side of the coin.
Yeah.
From my perspective, right? Because it's all our stuff is online and it's socials and it's the actual mechanism of the hobby proper is like that's a whole world that exists that exists and is important that it exists, right? And so it's people who don't get credit because they're always behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Right. So
War Games Atlantic is a new favourite of mine. It's quite for me, it feels like a newer company on the scene, but I don't know how long they've been around. I was only introduced to them because of Sharps Rifles, because I'm doing the things for making a Sharps Rifle episode. It's an old TV series from the 90s with Sean Bean in it. It's Napoleonics, and they do a set of British riflemen, and they have the heads for two of the characters in the set. And then I've just been like looking at all the other stuff they do, and I was like, "There's a lot of cool stuff here. Where all these come from?" That it could be like 2-3 years, but I've been so focused on other stuff, I've just not noticed them. But yeah, they are my new firm favorite.
Yeah, hard plastics,
Yeah.
unsprue, right?
Yeah.
They have manufacturing in Florida, So that's a change, right? Because in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, you probably get it made in China, just like majority of others, right? It's stateside.
Yeah.
So the manufacturing is done. Things are a bit quicker in terms of like shipping and production. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And I guess, we're nearly 2 hours, so I guess this could potentially be our last question, as one of my cameras beeps at me for overheating. It says, your content is very earnest and personal. Have you always felt comfortable sharing your life in this way, or did it take some time?
That took time. Yep. At the very beginning, when I thought of, pure ego, which was what at the very beginning, it's like, I can't show a single mistake.
Yeah.
Right? I can't show this. I can only show this in this way, and if it's not, it's wrong. Now it's healthier, and it's honestly just what I want to do.
Yeah.
And ultimately, that's the most important.
Well, it humanizes you as well, doesn't it? It makes you... That's who people see as the real Dave, as opposed to, like, when I was at workshop, I was the fake Peach, whereas now I can be me.
You can be you.
Yeah. So, I mean, that human element.
If you say that, then I accept that. Thank you for calling me human.
You are human-ish.
Yes, I'll take that ish.
Superhuman, maybe.
And then there was also a second part to this.
I caught that.
Where it said, also, when are you going to get off the fence and join the full beard gang?
As soon as I'm genetically able to.
Oh, can you not?
I cannot grow here.
Yeah.
Oh.
Right? So I've just accepted the checkmate of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
You work with what you got.
That's right. Like, I have a lush beard like yours.
I can't grow here, weirdly. So just little patches, which look great because I've got like the fork dagger thing. Maybe if I carried on. It goes ginger when I go a bit longer.
Nice.
But yeah.
I mean, mine...
My wife hates this. I need to get rid.
Yeah.
She looks rather nice.
She wants me like a marble, I think.
Like a marble?
I have
smooth and round.
a videographer I know, and it made me really laugh because you've said before you were like egg, and when you point at yourself, and he was like, "Oh, I do this thing with my kids." He has two young boys, and he was like, "I get some really baggy trousers, pull them up really really high." And just chase them around going, egg, egg man. And I was like, Peach will love that.
One of my wife's friends came over and they had she brought a son with him, and he struggles to communicate sometimes. And he just looked at me and went, coconut man. And I was like, yes. I'll take that.
I'll take it.
It's better than egg. A bit more fur or fuzz.
Yeah, a bit of fuzz on a coconut.
Fuzz, yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Fuzzy peach.
Fuzzy peach, yeah.
Although that might be something different.
Well, it could be, but there is a range of sweets. I should have brought some. You could have had some of my fuzzy peach rings. Very tasty.
I imagine they would be.
I used to hang them around the office. Who wants a peach ring?
Can confirm. Peach rings, delicious.
Used to be there like... Yes. Used to put a few people off. Got told off for being too rude in the office.
Really?
Yes.
I just offered them sweets.
No, I thought you got told off because you were giving people chocolate balls.
I was giving them my chocolate balls.
Yeah.
So there was balls
of
chocolate called chocolate balls, from out a shop called Audi.
Right.
And I'd go around and I'd offer
Innie?
them out.
It's an Audi.
It's an Audi. Yeah.
Audi,
Yes.
Okay.
I think. Yeah. Might be pronounced differently in Europe. I don't know.
Well, it's a German.
It is a German. It's like maybe it's Audi. I don't know. Don't make you jump.
Yeah, it did.
But yeah, so I had this tub of chocolate balls. They were called chocolate balls, and I went around. I was like, "Does anyone want chocolate balls? Anyone want chocolate balls?" And one of the managers was like, "Can you not do that because Kev Roundtree could walk through at any point?" And I was like,
"He's a CEO of Games Workshop for anyone that doesn't know."
Yeah, and I was like, if he does, I'll offer him one. And he did later on that day, and I offered him one. And he was like, what? Why, hey, man, I'll have one of your chocolate balls. And he took it, and I went off, and I was like, because Kev's great. I used to get like a cup of tea in the little cafe area, kitchen area.
That's so interesting.
And he'd just be there making a tea. CEO of the business, but he used to be in the accounting department, so he was just an accountant, and not just an accountant, but he was in the accounting department. He's just worked his way up. And there I'm making a tea. He's like, how's it, talk to you as a human, knows your name, recognises you, really friendly guy. Never had an issue with him. Some people obviously like go CEO evil, but he was always friendly to people. So
yeah.
Is that Gaz? Where are you?
I should get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is gonna be great. I got it. Hey,
Hey, buddy.
Hey, what's up? Yeah,
What are you doing?
we're just having a conversation, just talking a little bit. Where are you?
I'm sat outside. It's fine. You take your time, okay?
Take my
You take your time.
Okay,
Don't
now
worry about me sat here, hungry, thirsty.
what? Okay, we're almost done. Just another like 45 minutes.
You fuck right off.
Oh, I love you so much. Thank you so much for the constant dopamine.
Thank you.
That's what. Well, look. Okay, you know what? If I tried to escape, I would know. I don't know where I am. Who am I? What is my name?
Do you know what? Right. Anyway, I've got an important call coming through. Hang on.
This is an important call. He's hung up.
This is amazing. This camera's dead, so we should probably
Stick my head in there.
Oh yeah, that's better.
There we go.
There we go.
Whee!
And then I don't have to edit.
Yeah.
But
Well, we're going
yeah.
to draw it to an end, aren't we? So-
Yes. Why is he sat out? Why is he not sat in on a
He's-
sofa
he
through
just wants
there?
to sit in the car.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah. But thank you very much for coming on, Dave.
Yeah, cheers, Dave.
It's been a
Thanks very
joy.
much.
Yes.
It's been a pleasure and a privilege. And if you've enjoyed this content, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe and follow us on Patreon. And follow this guy. His stuff will be in the links in the description and all that, you know, the usual jazz that we say.
Yeah.
Look at all the things in the description. And if you want to see his videos, just click on them. We're going to get a room now and see what we can do with Angron. See how many Angrons we can put in our butt.
I can think of 8 things. Some corn.